she was married and made $1,000, $3,000.
Almost 3,000, yes.
She says that you didn't make any loans. Whatever you gave her were gifts.
Gifts.
How did you meet each other?
Through a friend of mine's wedding. We both were involved in a wedding, and the lady that my buddy was marrying.
This relationship last that you
about
developed?
About 2.5 years.
It's a long time. You were living with your husband at the time?
Yes, and it was 2 years, ma'am.
Now tell me about these loans that you made to her during that time.
She'd asked for me to clothes and different things, and I gave her the money. At different times, she'd call and say, I need this much. I wrote a check for this amount, and I can't cover it. We put it in the bank on several different occasions. On the receipts, I have all the bank receipts.
What makes you think that they were loans, sir?
Well, the money I put in her account, I told her that had to be paid back. I gave her money also out of my pocket on different occasions.
I understand the dynamics of this situation from the papers. Were they loans?
Yes, at that time, yes, they were.
Which ones were loans, sir?
The ones I have, the receipts from my bank account to her, here, 100 there, I told her don't worry about paying back.
Now, Mrs. Blick, $2,920 is what he said he has in bank receipts. Do you remember getting that kind of money from him? During this 2-year period, you were living with your husband or you were living with him? For a deposit to the account of Rob Blick.
That's her husband. I wrote
It's
it.
a joint account.
There's 2 receipts there on the same day. I think one's for 50 and one's for 110.
From if this was a joint account?
Ma'am, it's a joint account, okay, yes. But if he owed me the money, I would give him the money. This account, he doesn't. Basically,
You're not answering my question, Mrs. Blick.
No, he didn't ask, because this account, basically, I take care of. No, ma'am, it was not.
Well, tell me about it. You tell me about it. And we're not talking groceries here. It into your account. And you're telling me that none of this was a loan.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm not insecure, with our
Stand because of her son, her one son.
marriage. Obviously she was, but we're working through that.
And later today,
7 years, I'm his best friend. Like, I don't know him
You
enough.
were my best friend.
Well, Megan, you know what?
Why it's not there. And I won't call and harass her. And she agreed to that.
What did she say?
She said that she would start putting the money in my account. I told her I wanted $100, 50 to $100 a week. And she said, I can't promise you nothing because I have my truck paid.
Well, Mr. Durand, you know the old song, never get involved with a married...
The woman never needed money. If she needed money, she'd come to me. I never asked questions.
...responsible for half of the debt.
That's right.
You have a countersuit, sir. You with a large debt.
Yes.
And you feel as if he should be...
Yes.
Some of that's...
Your Honor, number 34 on the calendar in the matter of Saunders versus Thompson. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
I gather from these papers you two were engaged, going together for about 10 years. Yes. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And at some point, Mr. Saunders, according to your complaint, you went away for about 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a euphemism for jail?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you incarcerated for? Because that becomes important.
Aggravated battery.
On whom? Not on her.
No, ma'am.
Was there a weapon involved?
No, ma'am.
And during the time that you were going to be away, you left the defendant your car,
Yes, ma'am.
a gun,
Yes, ma'am.
and access to your money.
Yes, ma'am.
Where was the money?
Originally, before I left, I resigned from my job. The money was somewhat about $20,000 in a K plan. And
A Florida retirement plan.
Yes, ma'am. She had the power of attorney so that she could handle the work, get the money, and handle it.
Okay. So then you come out of jail and you sue her. Not together anymore.
Yes, something like that.
Well, then let me hear the story, sir.
I came out and to retrieve, before getting out, I realized that we were no longer going to be together. I just wanted to come out and receive my property, get rid of the gun, sell it, get my Jeep, get insurance policy that she had of mine, power of attorney back, and go on with my life. Subsequently, I tried to talk with her and get her to give me these things back so that I could go on with my life. She, in turn, gave me problems problems. They went on for months and months. I couldn't get any of this stuff back.
Do you have your Jeep?
I eventually did get it, yeah. Now, the Jeep I got immediately, but a couple of weeks down the line, I realized that it had some problems in it. A leaning wheel. She had told me before I got out that the windshield was cracked again for the third time, you know, and I was missing a lock, computer lock that goes to a burglar alarm. That's, you know.
All right, let me get to this gun, because I think that's going to be the easiest thing to take care of. What happened to his gun?
I had been carrying the gun in the vehicle.
Why?
At the suggestion of Mr. Saunders, because I did travel every weekend back and forth a considerable distance. There was one occasion where
Travel where?
to Illinois.
For what?
To visit him.
Okay.
There was an occasion where I had a blowout with the tire. Somebody approached the vehicle while I was waiting for the repair service, and at that time he suggested I should keep the gun in the car for emergency situations like that.
Is that true?
No, that's not true at all. Ma'am, I've been with Kim for 10 years, a decade before I went away. Kim has never touched a gun. She was scared of them. If I had one in the wrong spot in her way, she would come get me to move it. I know that she's as awkward with a gun as she would be with an elephant.
Miss Thompson, what happened to the gun? We're going to start over again.
I was going to go visit Mr. Saunders for a family event. I knew that the vehicle would be searched, so I'd taken the gun out of the car and left it in the home of my third party.
What third party?
My witness, Mr. Hogue.
This is your new boyfriend?
Yes.
So you took the gun out of the car and gave it to him?
I did not give it to him. I put it away, and I informed him that I was going to leave the gun in a certain drawer in the house.
Why didn't you leave the gun in your house?
Because when I was on my way to visit him, I was at Mr. Hogue's house at the time, and I remembered, that gun is out there, I need to get it out. So I just came from the Jeep, put it in the house, and I informed him I'm going to leave this here while I go visit.
So on your way to visit him, you stopped at his house?
Right.
Had you told him you had a new relationship?
Yes.
Is that right?
Somewhat. I found out on getting out of jail, I found out when I got into my Jeep and opened up the glove compartment and hotel receipts fell out. That's how I found out.
Step up here, sir. Because I want to deal with the gun first. What happened? Your name?
My name's Gerald Hogue.
Mr. Hogue, what happened to his gun?
There was a disturbance at my house.
What kind of disturbance?
There was a fight between some friends. The police came. They asked were any weapons in the home. I told them yes. They seized the weapons. When I talked to Mr. Sanders about his gun, I told him where his gun was. I told him what he needed to do to get it back.
So the gun was really seized because of a problem that existed in your house with the police?
Yes.
And your gun is, you have the license and registration for your gun?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You know that you can go to the police station and get your gun back if you can prove it's yours.
But I was told so many lies. Originally, she told me that she had the gun.
Well, she already told me one lie, but now we got to the root of it.
Yes, ma'am. But recently, I just found out that, and this is at his word, that the police and I think Jennings have the gun. I have been told so many lies that at a certain point, I stopped dealing with them. I figured I would take it to the court and let the court sort it out.
Mr. Saunders, really all you have to do is go to the police station when the police have confiscated property, and you can identify that property and satisfy them that the property is yours. And I assume your registration for that gun says what kind of a gun it is. What kind of gun is it?
It's a Taurus 9mm.
You don't need that gun for any particular reason, sir.
No, ma'am. I don't need the gun, and as a convicted felon, I'm not allowed to have a gun. So therefore, they will not give it back to me.
Ah.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes.
May I say something, please?
Yes.
I did call the police to try to get the gun back. I informed them that I had power of attorney from that the gun was not Mr. Hogue's, and that I did have power of attorney plus the receipts for the gun. They told me that since I was not the registered owner, that I could not get the gun. I would have to go to court in order to do so. I had contacted a lawyer. They told me it would be $258 to get the gun. I did not feel that I should put out additional monies when Mr. Saunders still owes me money.
The reason his gun is at the police station, his property, whether it be a gun, whether it be a hat, whether it be a collection of baseball cards, is because of you.
Right.
So he has to be compensated for that. That's his property. He can't get it out because there's an impediment to it. But the reason that the gun is there is because of you. So you can become the registered owner of the gun for the limited purposes of selling it. And then he gets the money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She told me already 3 lies today, and we've only been together for 15 minutes. That's why.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lauren Saunders wants compensation from his ex-girlfriend, Kim Thompson, because her new boyfriend smashed his Jeep and lost his handgun.
What other monies do you say she owes you?
$2,600 for a wheel on my Jeep. $900.
Just a minute, $2,600 for the wheel. Why?
Well, when the car was returned to me, the wheel was leaning.
Yeah.
And it was in her possession, and I figured she owes me for it because who knows who she let drive it.
Well, Mr. Saunders.
Yes, ma'am.
When you lend somebody a car or turn a car over to them for an extended period of time, you assume that that car may be used, driven by her, driven by someone else, and you take certain risks. You're not going to get the car back in exactly the same situation as when you went in 2 years ago. You're a different person, I assume, than you were 2 years ago when you went to jail, right?
Very much so.
Very much so.
Yes, ma'am.
So's your car.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But also, that wheel was leaning so bad that it's unsafe. I do not assume to get my property back in an unsafe condition. Also, ma'am, I'm not upset with anything that happens to my stuff in her possession. But when she lends it out to third parties, that's what I have a problem with. And third parties also who aren't honest.
Well, your arrangement with her was that she paid for the car, make the car payments while you were away, and she would have access to the car.
She agreed to pay for the payments. I also, with the money that I had that she was in possession of, said to her, if you have any problems paying for it, pay for it out of my money.
Did you use his money to pay for the car?
No, ma'am.
That's untrue, ma'am. I have paper right here stating that she did.
I may have made 3 car payments with his money.
Well, why don't you? I just asked you a question. You said no.
I'm talking about over the 2-year period. I used my money to pay for that vehicle.
Well, you were driving the vehicle. And he was driving the vehicle, right?
No, ma'am. He used the vehicle 1 time.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you that he used it 1 time, and the 1 time he used it, he was in an accident. Is that what you're going to tell me?
Yes, ma'am.
Baloney. Miss Thompson.
It was an ice storm.
Miss Thompson, I don't care if it was an ice storm, a tornado, or a typhoon. If you think that I believe that you only let your boyfriend use that car once, I was born in 1965.
Excuse me. I also have a copy of the report here also of the accident. It says nothing about an ice storm.
Whether it says anything about an ice storm, listen to me. She used the car, and it was your agreement that she would pay for the car.
Yes, ma'am.
When she was using it.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you didn't have a car at the time that was
I
usable.
Yes, I did have a car.
Then why would you use his car?
Your Honor, in the very beginning, I only drove I did not drive his car. He asked me to drive it because the alarm vehicle was on there. He was afraid it was going to drain the battery if it just sat there.
All you have to do is put the car up on blocks and take out the battery. Isn't that right? You're not going to use it for a long time?
I don't know anything about that.
Well, you
So
should.
initially, I started driving it just on the weekends. After my car went down in '96, then I started driving his car on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. So you used it all the time?
Full time in '96.
So you
but
used
that
it.
was a full year after I had been given possession of the vehicle.
Ma'am, I gave her the car with 37,000 miles on it. I got it back with somewhat of 70,000 miles on it.
Right. Because I basically drive 150 miles a day.
I'm interested in, these are the expenses from your 401k, is that right?
That's what itemized description of what she gave me.
Who uses all these Bibles?
I was giving them out.
You were giving them out from jail, in jail?
Yes, ma'am.
He spent hundreds of dollars on Bibles to give to other inmates.
I could think of worse things. You were driving this car when it was in a bad accident, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Did the insurance cover the cost of that?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the cost of repairs for the car?
A little over $5,000.
And how much did the insurance pay?
Everything except for $300, my deductible.
I don't see where she owes you a whole bunch of money, sir. I think she owes you for the gun.
Yeah, well,
I don't think she owes you for the car, and I'm going to get to her countersuit in a minute. Car's a problem. You let somebody have a car, and that's what happens. I think that the 3 car payments that you took out of your 401k, if she was using the car, she has to pay you back for. If she's treating this car as her own, she's driving it, she's letting her boyfriend drive it, it doesn't seem to me that you got to pay for it. That just sounds fair.
Your Honor,
Okay, yes.
the payments that I made with his money was during the time that I was not driving the vehicle on a daily basis, only on the weekends to go visit him. So I don't see where I should be responsible for that full payment.
Why don't you drive your own car to go visit him?
Because his car was newer, he wanted me to drive his car.
That's untrue. Her car.
I don't believe, Miss Thompson, that he ever said that to you.
Her car was down.
The problem is when you tell a lie once to a court, the court tends to look at everything else that you say with a certain amount of suspicion.
Amen.
I don't believe that he ever said to you, please drive my car instead of yours, and I also don't believe that you only drove his
Well, I'm
car on the
telling you.
weekends if you're telling me that his car was newer than yours.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Lovers that have been together for a while can feel when the other person is drifting off.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. While Lawrence Saunders was in jail, he claims his girlfriend found a new man who damaged his Jeep and lost his gun.
I see 2 car payments that you made, $854 out of his account.
Because it was behind.
Well, he was in jail.
Your Honor, Mr. Saunders had a habit of never paying his bills or not paying them on time.
Yeah, I have no problem with what she's showing with the money, even using my money to pay for my Jeep, okay? I didn't have a problem with that. I asked her, if it would have been up to me, I would have let the vehicle go back and controlled my money until I got back. She said, no, I'll help you, I'll do it for you, you're gonna need a vehicle when you get out, no problem. And I think she did pretty much a good job with the money.
Oh, so what are you here for? Are you just mad at her?
No, I'm not mad at her.
So
Again, my car was not, she promised me, I asked her to promise me that she wouldn't give my stuff away to a third party. Some guy, I figured that, I'm going for a while, I'm not a fool. She might be dating, she wants to date. I mean, she's a young girl. She shouldn't be strapped down with some guy that's away, okay? Go ahead, do your thing. But if you're going to take care, you gave me your word that you would take care of my stuff. If you're going to take care of my stuff, take care of my stuff. If something happens to it, that's an act of God. But if you're irresponsible and you're handing it out to people, you're handing it out to people that I don't know, you're handing it out to people who aren't above board, it's not honest. That's my opinion, but I can express it.
But you gave her permission to do that.
I gave
You
her,
expected that she might let somebody else drive the car as long as she was responsible.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I asked her, and she promised me that she would not.
Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And you did. You lent it to somebody else.
I lent it to my family members to move some furniture, and I did loan it to Mr. Hogue.
And you had promised him that you wouldn't.
Yes, ma'am.
And sir, how much did it cost you to fix up the car?
I had a figure of actually around 3,700 that I lost in trading the car in.
So if he says that he lost money because the car was not driven appropriately by you, Mr. Hogue, some members of your family, and was in an accident, don't you think he should be compensated?
No.
Well, but you think that you have a counterclaim against him for what? You're countersuing him for $5,000. I'd like to hear for what?
For the monies that I paid on the Jeep, Mr. Saunders said that I could have used his money, but he didn't have enough money to cover the cost of the vehicle.
So you want him to pay you for his car that you were using while he was away?
I'm suing him for the fact that he has been, in my opinion, very dishonest about the whole transaction with the vehicle.
Why?
Because, Your Honor, he had initially told me that he was going to pay me back for keeping his vehicle.
Did you ever tell her that?
No.
I believe that you never told her. Ms.
Now,
Thompson,
why would you believe him and not me?
Because you told me already 3 lies today, and we've only been together for 15 minutes.
And he
That's
has
why.
not told you a lie?
That's why. And because it doesn't have the ring of truth. What you're saying doesn't have the ring of truth to it. It
Your
just
Honor.
doesn't. And let me tell you why. Because there were times when he had plenty of money in the bank, and you didn't take the money out of his account to pay for the Jeep, and because according to his statement, which I believe, without his prior authorization, you went and refinanced this car because the payments were too high so that you could make the payments. Is that true?
No, ma'am.
You mean this car was
went-
never refinanced?
Yes, it was. I refinanced the vehicle with his credit union because it was a cheaper monthly payment and less of an interest rate.
For you to pay. And then you made the payments.
And eventually, he would have had to have paid with no job. How was he going to make a $427 payment each month with no job?
Ms. Thompson, so what you're telling me is while you had a new boyfriend, you were concerned about what would happen to Mr. Saunders when he got out of jail.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Ms. Thompson, so what you're telling me is while you had a new boyfriend, you were concerned about what would happen to Mr. Saunders when he got out of jail.
Yes, I was.
The countersuit is dismissed. On your lawsuit, sir, this was a very good lesson for you,
Yes, ma'am.
right? I wouldn't give my closest relative power of attorney over my money without my having the ability to co-sign for it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very bad idea. I'm only dealing now with this gun because as far as I'm concerned with regard to the Jeep, which is now sold, she used it, she paid for it for a substantial period of time. You sold it, whatever monies that you got, you lost money, but some of the monies that you got for it were monies that she paid. It was almost like renting a car from a rental company. She had the ability to use that car for almost 2 years, so she used it. It's a wash. You owe for the gun. The gun should not have been in his house. The gun should have been where he left it, in a vault, someplace safe. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back go to your right, please. Judges, number 10 on the calendar in the matter of McBriar versus Golden. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. Be seated, please. Have a seat.
I've read your papers. Ms. McBriar, according to your complaint, you and the defendant lived together for about 4 years.
Yes.
During that time, he says he paid all the bills. Is
Yes,
that right?
That's right.
But prior to your separation, which was not a happy one, according to what I've read, she says you ran up a phone bill of about $640.
That's not true.
Well, tell me about it.
Your Honor, I have the phone bills right here. What I do, Your Honor, is every month I am on a fixed income. So every month...
What kind of fixed income?
I am on disability. I am on SSI. Okay,
What?
so every month what I do is I call the phone company and I asked one of the reps what is the amount of my phone bill before I even get it, so I'll know how much I'm going to pay out for my phone bill. So on April 17th, I got up and I called the phone company. Bernard was still in the bed, he was asleep. And I asked her the amount of my phone bill, and she told me it was $624.13.
For 1 month?
For 1 month.
Yes.
And so I was speechless. I was speechless, and I automatically just started sweating because I had never had a phone bill that big in my life, you know, and so I couldn't speak to her. I kind of just.
So what happened?
So what happened was I said, well, what made the bill $624 and you know, what made the bill this high? You know, I was actually yelling at her, you know, and so she said, well, you have quite a bit of long distance phone calls on your bill to Virginia. Most of them are to Virginia, and you have a lot of toll calls.
So she sent you a bill. You ultimately got a bill.
Yes, I did get the bill.
Would you get the bill? Sure. Thank you. So, what happened? You got this bill. He's sleeping.
He's sleeping.
You woke him up, I assume.
Yeah. Yes, I did. No.
I'm curious. How did you wake him up?
Actually, I didn't wake him up. I got off the phone with the rep, and I sat there because I didn't want to go in a rage and yell at him, like, you know, and start this big thing.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so he was coming out the bedroom when I was going to approach him, and it was in the hallway. And so I said, Bernard, I said, why did you run my phone bill up to $624?
Did you say it in that tone?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And so he said, baby, I didn't know I did that. And so I said, well, you did.
What was the phone bill usually on a monthly basis?
Usually on a monthly basis, my phone bill runs me maybe $40, $50 at the most.
Okay. Your financial arrangement with Mr. Golden was that he paid the rent on the apartment?
He paid the rent and the utilities.
Well, the phone is a utility.
Well, the phone was not a utility. No, it was not. Because that was my phone in my name.
So he paid the gas and electric and the rent. And
Yes.
what about the food? Who paid the food?
I bought the food.
Sometimes she did, not all the time. She never bought food. She always claimed with accusations with different bills.
All right, I'm just trying to get some sense of the financial
No,
arrangement.
excuse me, Your Honor. You know I bought food. Don't you sit up here and lie and tell me I did not buy food.
No,
I
he
bought
didn't.
food every month.
Madam,
Not all
look at
of
me.
I'm
Don't
sorry.
yell at him.
He
He said that you bought some food and he bought some food.
Oh.
That's what he said.
Okay.
All right. But he paid the rent. How much was the rent?
The rent was $650. I mean $550. I'm sorry.
Okay, plus the utilities.
Plus utility, lights, and gas.
Okay, and your arrangement was whatever the overage was on this phone bill, you were
Yes.
supposed to pay for it.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
All right. She says that you joined the psychic hotline.
No, that's not true.
Did you do that?
No.
Yes, he did. Yes,
No.
he did, Your Honor.
Order.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. I have proof that he joined the psychic hotline.
Let me see it.
No, I did not.
It
Well,
was,
did you call the psychic hotline?
No, I did not. I
Yes,
don't know
he did.
anything
You
about
never
it.
did?
Never did.
matter of
But
fact,
she has a
that's-
block on her phone for 900 numbers. She has a block on her
Yes,
telephone
now- yes.
for all the calls that you can't
All right.
call long distance
Did you
at
ever
all.
see this phone bill, Mr. Golden?
No, no,
Well,
Your
we're
Honor.
going to show it to you. I was curious, Ms. McBriar, about something else that I read in your complaint. Because you said during that morning when you confronted him, look at me, madam.
Yes.
During that morning, you said because you feared what he might do, you called the police on him.
Well, I called the police on him because, see, Bernard has threatened to kill me. He has threatened to kill me. He has done a lot of things. He has a domestic violence record already. And he does not like police. He told me if I ever called the police on him again that he would kill me.
Had he done anything to you before you called the police that day?
That day he hadn't done anything to me, no.
But you were afraid once you confronted him with the
Yes,
phone bill, he
I
was
was
going
afraid for my life.
Could I finish?
Yes,
you can't talk over each other.
I'm sorry, Your Honor,
Okay.
I'm upset. I'm very upset.
All right. He said, so you called the police came, you left?
I wasn't home when the police came. I wasn't
Yeah.
up there at all.
Had you known that she called the police?
I didn't know who she was calling on. I know she was, she just said, I'm pressing charges, as far as I know, when I was leaving the house.
What were you pressing charges for?
No, excuse me, Your Honor. You know what? He's lying, okay? He's lying.
About what?
Okay, when I called the police, they asked me, like they always do when I call the police, they asked me what was he wearing. When I was describing to them what he was wearing, he took off on his bike out the side gate.
Okay.
So I wouldn't describe what he was wearing.
That's not true. I was leaving anyway to make a phone call because I didn't want to use her telephone because she was already furious of me about the bill.
You didn't want to use my telephone. You always use my telephone. That's why it's $747 at this
you're
time.
very selfish with your phone.
But yes, I'm selfish with my phone because.
Ma'am.
Will you please?
Quiet, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He asked God to destroy me, to not talk on the phone.
Ms. McBriar, everybody's got a wish list. That's his wish list.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tamara McBriar wants her ex-boyfriend to pay the $600 phone bill she says he left behind when they split.
Ms. McBriar,
Yes.
let me tell you what I don't understand here. Okay?
Yes.
At the start of this case, you told me that each month you called the phone company because you're on this fixed disability income.
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
What's the nature of your disability?
Panic attacks.
And how long have you been on
Since
disability?
1989.
You told me that you called the phone company each month so that you could set aside an amount of money
Yes,
for
Your
the
Honor.
phone bill. Now, these phone bills that you've presented me with, so I assumed when you called, this $624 was for 1 month. But that's not true according to these phone bills. You're showing me bills for December, January, February, March, all totaling.
No, Your Honor, no, Your Honor. I'm not showing
Well,
you.
then-
No, I'm not.
Just a second. Then I have the bills for March,
You have the
which you're talking about, and the bill for March, the total bill, trying to figure it out.
I have the March bill right here. The
Oh,
March
you didn't
10th.
hand it to me. You didn't hand me the front page of the March bill. Let me see the front page of the March bill, please.
That was never paid. Also, this
Just
was.
shh. Listen to me. I want you to look at these bills, madam. You're telling me that all the phone calls he made that are in question now are the bills for that 1 month, March and April, because you told me that you called each month before that to get your bill.
Yes, I do, Your
Well,
Honor.
then take these back. Take a look at those. Those say December and January.
Okay.
Am I correct? Am I correct?
No, they say April 10th.
No, keep
April
reading.
10th.
Read the phones. Read the dates on the phone calls.
Okay, yes, the dates on the phone call. Those were the dates that the phone calls were made.
December, correct?
Yes.
January. Keep going. Keep looking.
I see December, January. Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay, so I assume you paid those.
No, I did not pay these.
Well, so I'm not following you. If you didn't pay those and you got those bills in December, January, February, and you didn't pay those bills, then you knew that there was an outstanding balance because your March bill is only $120.97.
Right.
It's $120.97.
Yes. That's money that I had to take and pay for Bernard because, see, when I would ask Bernard to pay the phone bill, he would tell me that he couldn't give me the money at the time because he had to pay the rent. But I would try to explain to him that I have to pay the phone bill because my phone would be disconnected.
Let me tell you what I don't understand. Those bills that I returned to you had a lot of long-distance calls, December, January, a whole bunch of long-distance calls that you have marked off as Bernard's calls.
Exactly.
You, of necessity, had to get those bills in either the end of December or the beginning of January, the beginning of February. What did you do with those bills that you got?
What did you mean what I did with that?
Did Bernard pay them or did you pay them?
I paid them.
He had all those long-distance calls on December and January. Didn't you discuss that with him?
Yes, I did.
Did he pay them?
No, he did not.
Had she discussed them with you?
No, well, the early ones in the past she had, and I gave her $100 before the month before I vacated the apartment. I gave her approximately $100 on the phone bill, contribute towards it, to make for all my calls, local or long distance. And that's when when she told me about the new bill, was the bill had not came yet after I gave her $100 for the first bill. That new bill came after I have gone and left the apartment, vacated.
Well,
Your Honor.
you see, this new bill for $661 doesn't list the phone calls on it.
Well, you asked me for the whole bill.
I understand that, but it's very hard for me to follow Ms. McBriar because on the last bill, it doesn't list the phone calls. How is he supposed to know which phone calls he made?
It doesn't list the phone calls because those are the phone. Okay, that $661 is including. It hasn't been paid yet because I can't pay it. I don't have the money because they're Bernard's calls. I mean, I want my money for my phone bill. Your Honor, listen to me, please.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Please listen to me.
I'm trying.
This man, this man here is lying to you.
No, listen, Ms. McBriar, look at this. I want you to look at your March 10th statement. Okay? Look at your March 10th statement. How much does it say is owed on the March 10th statement?
$120.97.
All right. So as of March 1997, you owed $120.
Yes.
Just a minute. Okay. Where is the April bill?
I have the April bill.
Tell me what is owed. And just a second, when did you move out?
I moved out possibly on the, let's see, what was it? It was, what was it, date? That's about March.
No.
What date did he move out,
He
madam?
moved out April 17th.
I knew she'd remember. Women always remember those things. Then forget. He moved out on April 17th?
Yes, he did, Your Honor.
All right. Now, so your March bill was $120.
Yes.
Now let me see the April bill.
Okay. April, here we are. Let me get it together here. Okay, this is the April bill.
Let me see it, please, with all the
Hold
calls on it.
Let me make sure I got them together for you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So I'm not going to let anyone run my phone bill up to $640 and not pay it. That's just not me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bernard Golden says he shouldn't have to pay a $600 phone bill because he supported Tamara McBriar for 4 years when they were living together.
Oh, you see, I see what happened, Mr. Golden. Now I got it. You made a lot of third-party calls. Because evidently the third-party calls that you made, whoever it was said, I'm not accepting these calls, so they put it all back on her bill in April. Is that what happened?
That's exactly what happened, Your Honor.
Yeah, I knew I'd get it. I knew I'd get it. I knew I'd get it. Because our April bill, sir, reflects the fact that all of these phone calls were made in December. Called from Pasadena to Washington, Sacramento, Hampton, Monterey. You know what people in those areas, sir? What were you doing, making third-party calls? Listen to me. Were you making third-party calls?
Making third-party calls? Yes.
That's what I said.
I was making collect calls.
Well, evidently, whoever initially took the collect call, sir, decided against it. Would you show him these numbers, please? Now, Mr. Golden, you say in your answer that this is all a conspiracy, sir, because she's got a new boyfriend. She wanted you out of the house.
Yes, true.
That's true.
That's 100% true. Yes. Yes, plus what happened was with conspiracy is that she's been talking to her ex-lover for a long time since she's been with me. He's been using up his dad's credit card and showering her down with gifts from the body shops, spending Christmas gifts.
Mr. Golden, did you join the psychic hotline?
No, ma'am, I
Yes,
did not.
he did, Your Honor.
No,
I'm
ma'am, I
sorry.
did not.
Take a look at those. Take a look at those.
I don't know
bills.
how that got
Okay.
on his bill
All
because
right.
she has a block.
Okay, take a look at those calls, sir. Those numbers have a familiar ring?
Some of them do.
Some of them do.
Yeah.
Some of them, not all.
Huh?
Your Honor,
Not
can
all.
I please show you some evidence?
I have just one quick question for you, Mr. Golden. How do you know her phone is blocked for
Because
that?
she told me. Because I made long-distance calls straight from the house, and she
Yeah.
put a block on it
While you were together,
while we were together.
a vote of
And I paid
confidence
for
for
them.
you. Yes.
And I paid for the
All right.
calls.
Give me those phone calls. Now I understand what happened. Or you wanted to show me some evidence before I make a decision in this
Yes,
case?
yes, Your
Okay.
Honor, please.
I'll take the bill back. Yeah. What?
You really need to go over this. You need to look at this. And you really need to look at this.
Got to get ready for this.
You need to look at this. You need to look at this. And you really need to look at these.
And you can read one of them prayers for me too, Your Honor.
These are prayers, sir?
There's a prayer. My special prayer I'm praying to
his
Jehovah
special
Adonai.
prayers to
My
whoever.
father.
No, it's
When
not
she
your
was
father.
Just a second. What is? How is this relevant to the phone bill?
Just go ahead.
I don't want to read them all, please. I don't have time. I've got a lot of other work to do
They're
today.
relevant to the phone bill because he asked God to destroy me, to not talk on the phone, to and get rid of my girlfriends and destroy me, rebuke me.
That's because she
Listen
was...
to me, Miss McBriar. Everybody's got a wish list. That's his wish list.
Oh, my God. Well, his
What
wish
is
list
this?
is terrible.
Those-
His wish list is
Order.
What is
terrible.
this? What is
It's
this?
terrible. Look at that. Look at where he's from. Look at
That's
that.
my birth certificate.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't even know she
Oh
had that.
yeah. Oh yeah. Because that's where you call. That's where you call.
Oh, you mean you called the, you're just showing this to me to
Yes.
show that he calls Virginia?
Yes.
He doesn't deny that he made all those calls. He can't look me straight in the eye, square in the eye, and tell me that he didn't make those calls. He did
Right.
make the calls.
Look at that. He said he cut. Look at that. That was me. That was me. That was me. He cut my face out and said he placed it under the Virgin Mary to keep us together.
You know how many wedding albums I've seen with just that sort of thing done in them?
We don't have a wedding album. We're not even married.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right, listen to me. You owe her the money, sir. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
You can't
Yes, ma'am.
leave her with this phone bill.
Okay.
It's unfortunate that your relationship didn't work out, but it didn't. You
See,
can't
but-
make all these phone calls. They didn't come to her
See, you-
until after you had vacated the premises.
See, Your Honor,
Yes.
I don't think it's fair for me to pay the bill because the reason why I said this because I supported her for 4 years. Plus, she's when she was not on disability, she was not taking her medication. I was the one who had to be there by her bedside, take her to the hospital when she had a panic attack from a chemical imbalance.
Excuse me, Your
Listen
Honor.
to me, Mr. Golden. Your arrangement was that you paid your long-distance phone bills while you were living there. Is that right?
True.
That was your arrangement?
Yes.
Because you moved out doesn't mean that arrangement ceases. You have to pay her the money. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $640. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out, please.
And on the next,
Judge, this is number 84 on the calendar in the matter of Heron versus Brown. Parties have been
Thank
sworn in. You may be seated.
This is a sad case. Sit down. Pay attention to me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Heron, this is your daughter, I assume.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are suing the defendant, who is the mother of this young man, I assume,
Yes, I am.
because you say that her son made your daughter pregnant. She had a miscarriage. Your medical bills for the miscarriage were almost $2,000, and you want her to pay half. Is that what this lawsuit is about?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I'd like you to step up here. You too. When did your daughter tell you she was pregnant?
The date was. What was the date? I don't.
End of September, I believe.
It was around the end of September. That's when I learned of it.
Were you dating?
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
I know what the lawsuit is with regard to Mr. Heron. I'd like to hear from you as to why you don't believe you should be responsible for half of these medical bills. Your son is how old, 16?
16, yes. First of all, I don't believe that I'm responsible for half these medical bills because there was never a paternity test to prove that Dontrell was the father. Plus, all the stress that her dad put on her after he found out she was pregnant. I think it was about the latter part of August, I got a call from Mr. Heron telling me that Denise had got caught shoplifting a home pregnancy test, and he was really upset and telling me that he had been nice to Dontrell and Dontrell had took advantage. And when I told him, well, it wasn't all Dontrell's fault, and then he tells me, well, yeah, she's the one that came to your house like a common and laid up with them. And so then the next thing I know, she's crying, saying that he had beat her.
Who beat her?
Her father, because he wasn't gonna let her have a, can I say the word?
I would prefer you didn't.
Okay, well, baby. And she stayed with her friends' houses, and even my daughter was concerned about her and was gonna let her stay with her because she was going through a bunch of turmoil. And I feel that all the stress that he put on her, and first of all, you know that being pregnant for the first time, you're scared as it is.
Well, it should, how old are you?
16.
16?
And to have undue stress and pressure put on you by someone that's supposed to be protecting you then. So I feel that he caused a miscarriage by all the stress, and that there was never a paternity test to say that Dontrell was a father. I don't see how he can tell me that I'm responsible for half the medical bills.
Mr. Heron, I'd like to hear from you.
Yes. This is absurd for them to even suggest that her son is not the father. It's an insult and it's appalling.
Well, I don't think it's an insult and it's appalling, Mr. Heron, at all. Quite frankly, I'll address that. I'll address that first, and then I'll get to the stress part.
I would like to say that my daughter has been an honor student for her tenure in school. She's currently the treasurer of her high school. She was elected that. She doesn't sleep around or fool around or anything. This was the only boy that she had been seeing. And the first time I met this young man was he had been arrested for drugs at his junior high school. Helen here, she's pulling, anything, this stuff about beating Denise is just totally absurd.
Is that true, sir?
It's absolutely not.
Did your father hit you, Denise?
No. No.
Would you tell me if he did?
Yes.
There's,
Mr. Heron, what Ms. Brown is saying is not so bizarre as you may think, sir. Two 16-year-olds having sex unprotected, whether it was with him or with anybody else, is stupid. Two 16-year-olds having sex is stupid. Two 16-year-olds having unprotected sex is more stupid, or as my grandson would say, stupider. So, while I'm certain that Dontrell would probably stand up here and proclaim from the rooftops that this was his baby, is that right?
Yes.
well, even after the miscarriage, they stopped by the house. She even offered to help Denise raise the child.
His mother is a little more practical. His mother says, I'm not sure, because 16-year-old with all that testosterone flowing says, yes, the baby is mine. His mother says, how can you be sure?
Well, it's the only thing she has for her defense. This is her defense in chief, and it's all she's got.
Well, Mr. Heron, it's a very good defense, sir.
Well, when I asked her to, didn't offer, a dime, and she knows deep in her heart, she professes to be a Christian and to come to this court and even suggest that he's not the father.
That's not what she's suggesting, sir. She's not suggesting that he's not the father.
But there's a possibility that...
What she's saying is, under the law, in this jurisdiction and in every other jurisdiction, when you have a child out of wedlock, there is no presumption as who the father is. And in order to determine that, we now have very sophisticated testing to determine parentage of children. You know about those tests. They have blood tests, they have DNA tests, and they can prove within 100% who's the father of that child. Mm-hmm. What Ms. Heron is saying is, under the law, there is no proof that Dontrell is the father of this child. When you're married, it's a different story. When you're married, the law presumes that you are.
So we're left to go with a preponderance of the evidence here, which my daughter doesn't sleep around. They know that. They know what kind of girl she is. She doesn't have time for it. She's an honor student. She's, keep track of her, as best I can.
You didn't keep track of her very well, sir.
But if she was such an
Just a second, you didn't keep track of her very well.
Well, I said as best I can. I do operate a business, and
Mr. Heron, that's what Ms. Brown is saying.
But if she was such an honorable student and such an honorable person, she wouldn't have swore to tell the truth and then turned around and lied that you never beat her.
You're the one who's...
Listen to me, don't fight with each other. Did you tell Dontrell, who was your boyfriend, that your father hit you at some point in the kitchen in your home? Because that's what's in these papers. Did you tell... No, look at me, don't look at the floor, Ms. Heron. Did you tell that to him?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If my 16-year-old daughter came home pregnant, I guarantee you there'd be a lot of stress in my household. A lot of stress.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. The father of 16-year-old Denise Heron wants Helen Brown to pay the medical cost for Denise's miscarriage because he says Helen's son, Dontrell, was the father.
Did you tell Dontrell, who was your boyfriend, that your father hit you?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes, I was upset.
So you told that to Dontrell, that your father hit you. What did you tell him about your father hitting you?
What do you mean, what did I tell?
I want you to tell me what you told him.
I said that he was yelling and got mad at me and started hitting on me.
Where did he hit you?
Hmm?
Where did he hit you?
He didn't. I just told him that I was upset.
Well, why would you tell him that?
Because I was scared he was going to.
So what you did was you told Dontrell a lie. Is that right? Hmm?
Yes.
Do you understand, Mr. Heron?
Yeah, I understand that I'm out $2,000 in medical bills for an instance that I'm not responsible for. And
listen, you are responsible for it. You are responsible for it because this is your daughter.
Yeah, I can't watch all the time, just saying that she can't watch her son, but nonetheless, we're responsible for our minor's actions.
Absolutely
now, I'm
right,
willing
sir.
to accept the risk, but why should the burden of this whole thing be placed on me?
Mr. Herron, if your daughter had not had this miscarriage, and if she had had a child, and if there was a paternity test, listen to me, if there was a paternity test, and if it was established that this young man was the father of the child, he would be responsible for the support of that child, along with your daughter, until the child reached age 21. Right now, what Ms. Brown is saying is that while she believes probably that Dontrell is the father of this child, she's not certain. And she's not certain because of the miscarriage, there is no opportunity to conduct blood tests. And they are not married, so the law does not presume her son is the father of this child. So she doesn't feel as if she should be responsible. And in the law,
Well,
she's
certain. She knows. It's
How does she know? Listen, the only way you can be certain is if you were there.
That's you. She knows, though she's not admitting to it. You know, she knows. If you ask her in her heart if she feels that there could be anybody other than her son, what would you say, Helen? Does Denise
What's
sleep
in my
around?
heart? I don't know what Denise does. I
Miss
don't
Brown,
watch Denise.
Tell the court what you think.
I don't watch Denise 24 hours a day, but up until this
You certainly
point,
don't watch him 24 hours.
may I speak, please? I really, like I said, when all of this happened, Denise came to me and I opened up my home and I was there for her. And I really had hoped that she would be lady enough to tell the truth here. But if she can stand here and lie and say that he never hit her and he didn't put her out, why should I believe that it was my son's baby? Because it's so easy for her to tell one lie, she could have told another lie.
Well, what she's already done is she's acknowledged here, after some prodding, that she did, in fact, she says, lie to your son about her father beating her. Now, whether her father beat her or not is really not the issue, but it is an indication that your daughter is able to lie, sir, because she says she lied to him. You understand that? And I understand where you're coming from. You say, listen, there should be two people's responsibility.
Well,
I absolutely agree with you, Mr.
Quite
Herron.
a bit of lying going on. It seems as if Mr. Trell here would be following in his father's footsteps, who I guess is...
What does his father have to do with
Mr. Herron, don't bring... I would suggest, sir, that you not bring other matters into this case which really bear no relevance to it. Dontrell, I'm going to tell you this. You believe that you were the father of this child?
Yes.
Then you pay back Mr. Herron. Do you understand?
Yes.
Then you, sir, have a moral, if not a legal obligation, to do that. Now, you go to school?
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes.
What do you work at?
At a senior citizen's home.
How much do you get paid?
$5 an hour.
And what do you do with that money?
Oh, I haven't gotten paid
Speak
yet.
up, sir.
I haven't gotten paid yet, ma'am.
When did you start working there?
It's just a summer job.
And you're going to keep that summer job?
Yes.
Well, then I would suggest, Mr. Brown, that if you want to try to get back into this family's reasonable graces, you're never going to get into their good graces, but reasonable, and assume some sort of moral responsibility for an act that you probably had something to do with, you will see to it that each time you get a paycheck, Mr. Herron gets a check or a money order. Do you understand?
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
what are you looking at? Where are you looking all over the place? Do you understand that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You got to learn to keep your pants zipped up, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Vincent Herron says Helen Brown's teenage son made his teenage daughter pregnant, so they should share the medical costs.
Your mother is quite correct. She's not responsible because they're not able to establish, because there's no baby here, that you're the father of this child. If you believe that you are, sir, you pay for it. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Well, are you going to do it?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
No, I don't. Just a
and I'm
minute.
the only one lying here?
Just a second. I'm telling you this. I don't know whether you two young people still see each other, either with your parents' knowledge or without their knowledge. But if there is any remote possibility that you will have a long-term relationship, any, you better start paying back Mr. Herron. And listen to me, Denise. Look at me. I'm not going to ask you whether you still see him because I'm not going to create any more difficulty than already exists. But if he doesn't start making those payments starting this week when he gets paid to your father, I would suggest to you that he does not have the kind of character that you want to hook up with permanently. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Good.
Your Honor, would a
Yes.
preponderance of the evidence suggest here that if he says that he's the father, I know that he is, Denise knows, Helen knows, but wouldn't the preponderance of the evidence indicate that I should get some kind of judgment?
Absolutely not, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely not, sir. There is not a
It's
preponderance.
as
Listen to
much
me.
in her favor as it is in mine.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You could bring anybody in off the street and say, I believe that they're the father of this unborn child. I want to be paid half of my outlay of medical costs. The only question that I asked your daughter here today, Mr. Heron, was whether or not you beat her. She said initially no. Then we went back to her and I said, did you tell him that your father beat you? She said yes. Listen to me. You say it never happened. That means somebody is lying. Do you understand?
There's no record of violence at our house at all.
No, listen to me. Your daughter said, Mr. Heron, that she told Dontrell that you beat her. That was, therefore, according to you, a lie. Is that right?
What does that have to do with the responsibility of the medical bills here? This is what I'm suing for.
Mr. Heron, you wanted, in order for you to establish, to my satisfaction, by a preponderance of the evidence, sir, that this unborn child was his child, I would have to believe...
He said, I said it, she
no,
said it. She's the
I
one
would
with
have to believe your daughter. In a situation where the law in this jurisdiction does not hold any presumption of paternity, I am not prepared to do that. The only thing I am prepared to do is to make a moral judgment that if this young man believes that he is the father of this child, then he has the moral responsibility at age 16 to defray some of the medical costs. But his mother does not have that responsibility because she is entitled to know whether her son fathered this child before she puts her hand in her pocket.
But yet I'm responsible for my minor. She's not responsible for hers, you know.
No, sir, unfortunately, as the father of a daughter, that's true. That's true. It seems somewhat inequitable. That's what they have paternity tests for, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Could I suggest this without the paternity test to indicate that it's 1 in a million chance? Is there a possibility to get part of the judgment? I mean, instead of saying that I'm wrong totally, I mean...
No, Mr. Heron, I just told you he's supposed to pay the whole $900 because that's half of your medical bills, $900 and some odd dollars. What is it?
With me saying that I think the baby is mine, but would it matter the cause of the miscarriage? 'Cause like
No. Doesn't matter the cause of the miscarriage, sir. That's what you put in your answer. You say because her father placed her under a great deal of stress. No. Listen to me. I'm going to get on his case, so I want you to be quiet. What you're saying is because her father placed her under a great deal of stress, that caused the miscarriage, and therefore you shouldn't be responsible. I want to tell you something. If my 16-year-old daughter came home pregnant, right, and the father, she said, was another 16-year-old who went to high school, I guarantee you there'd be a lot of stress in my household. A lot of stress. You got to learn to keep your pants zipped up, sir. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Keep yourself busy. Get 2 jobs. Think. Use your brain. You know, this is the time for you to use your brain. I know using other parts of your anatomy don't require that much effort, all right? But get 2 jobs because he's out money, and if what you believe is true, that you are the father of this child, if you believe that, then you have a responsibility, even at age 16, to help defray the costs. We understand each other?
Yes.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please. Judge, this is number 11 on the calendar in the matter of Thompson versus Thompson. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Well, this is a rather unfortunate intra-family dispute. According to this complaint, Mrs. Thompson, this is one of your sons,
My oldest son.
and this is your youngest son.
Right.
And it says here that you and your youngest son laid out $5,000 in bail money for the defendant.
Yes.
Who was incarcerated at the time for what, sir?
Domestic violence.
Against this lady,
Yes.
who is now your witness.
Yes.
And you asked your mother and brother to bail you out.
Yes.
So what happened?
Okay, he told us that he would be receiving over 3,000 income tax money and that he would be able to pay us back.
He called you from jail?
He was calling us from jail every day.
How long had he been in jail at this time?
He had been in there almost 2 months. I guess about seven weeks.
So this wasn't the first time you had been arrested for domestic violence, is
No,
that
it
right? How many times have you been arrested for domestic
3.
violence? 3 times.
Yes.
In what period of time?
Like all 10 years.
All involving this lady?
Yes.
This time they kept you in,
Yes.
and you called your mom.
Yes.
So what did you do?
Okay, he was calling me twice a day, and then he was wanting to speak to Stacy, his lady. He wanted to speak to her and the children, and I was allowing because they didn't have a phone. So it ran my bill up to over $400. I'm sorry, it ran it up to $442 in telephone collect calls.
From jail?
And yes, from jail. So she came over and she told...
How close do you live
across
to
the
her?
street. Across the street and maybe 2 buildings down. And he was asking about bailing him out because she was saying that they weren't getting along. I mean, that she was not going to be with him when he came out. And
Stop
she
playing with the paper, sir. Put them
and,
down.
and she mentioned another man that she was seeing. And so I mentioned it to Derek, and he felt that he had to, he wanted to be out. He didn't want me to say anything about what was going on over there. In the meantime, she also brought over, they've been together for 6 years living, and she brought over 3 big plastic bags of clothing of his. And she said because when he came out, she didn't want him back there. And
well, so far that sounds smart, but I have a sense that changed.
Yes. So in the meantime, he was calling to ask us if we would bail him out.
So you did. Who put up the money?
My son Daryl put up $2,000. He moved in with me rather than find another place to let his brother have the $2,000 that he was borrowing. And the $3,000 balance, I had to put a lien on my home to put up to make the full amount of the $5,000.
What did you do with the $5,000? Tell me physically, what did you do with it once you had it?
We bailed Derek out.
How did you do that?
We used the bail bondsman.
We used the bail bondsman.
And the bail bondsman wanted the whole $5,000?
No, he wanted $2,000 at first, which I had paid up cash, and $3,000 later deferred in payments, which he was supposed to make arrangements to pay back.
And I had to put the lien in my home.
And she put her home up also as
collateral?
Yes, yes.
Was that domestic violence matter finally resolved?
No, it is not.
Well, you get that money back as long as he shows up in court, less
you
a
don't
fee.
You don't get the 10% back.
We're talking about just the 10%.
Yes, you don't get the 10% back.
Bond,
we have it right here.
His bail was $50,000,
and
we had to put $5,000 there. The $5,000 we don't get back.
Your bail was $50,000?
Yes.
Let me see the papers. This must have been some domestic violence. They don't give murderers $50,000
He had another
bail.
charge also.
What?
Child molestation or whatever.
Yes.
And then we did bail him out for that. He is out on bail.
Which child?
I don't know.
One of his children?
I don't
No.
know. I don't know about it.
Yeah, you had $50,000 bail. That's what it says.
Yes, and we did put up $5,000.
And we have to put the $5,000.
Which he does owe us. Now, another thing, he had said that he was going to pay us back once he got his tax returns, and he went and filed his taxes.
And this is the
she
proof
has the proof showing that he had received his tax, getting back his income tax money without paying us back the cash money, which we had put up, which he had promised to pay back. Because personally, I had talked to him like twice over the phone. He was saying, "Well, if you bail me out, I promise as soon as I file my taxes, I'm gonna pay you right back or whatever else. I got so and so amount waiting for me."
Did I not offer you $1,000? I had $1,000 of
like
dollars
I said,
and I gave it to you.
No, you didn't pay me anything.
Don't talk to each other. Talk to me.
Okay.
Yes, you both acknowledge that he offered you $1,000.
He offered me $1,000. I told him I wanted $2,000, which he had owed me, not part of it in payment.
Is your mother's house still collateral for this bail?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Well, why haven't you paid anything to the bail bondsman?
Oh, well, how am I supposed to? I lost my job when I got out.
He
Why?
gets unemployment.
Just a second.
I do.
But where did you get the $1,000 from?
I was working part-time, and I made $1,000.
So why didn't you just pay that to the bail bondsman to at least take $1,000 off the lien that your mom had on her house?
I guess I wasn't thinking about it.
Sounds to me like you've done a lot of not thinking.
I had made arrangements with the bail bondsman to make payments.
So how many payments did you make to the
I
bail?
have made none.
Let me understand this. You made arrangements with the bail bondsman to make payments, but you haven't made any.
Yes.
Why not?
Well, I made arrangements with the bail bondsman. He said when I get it, then they give it to him.
But until that time, sir, your mother is on the hook. Why don't you just make the payments to the bail bondsman? Why didn't you give the bail bondsman $1,000 and say, this is on account, take $1,000 off my mother's lien on her house?
It's true.
But in the meantime, he's received the $3,000 tax money
And
that
he didn't pay
pay
me back. He said he
What'd
was
you do
going
with
to
it?
pay back
received
$3,000.
Just a second.
He got a van fixed, and it was over $2,000 worth of damage on it.
He took the money and blew it.
No, number one, the van was not, her mother paid for the van to get fixed.
Thank you.
I didn't pay for anything.
Step up here. How can I ask you a couple of questions?
Thank you very much.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I really feel sorry for your 4 children. God, 4 children. Don't
Well, I
realize the
feel sorry
mistake
for them.
after you have 1 or 2 or 3, you gotta have 4 children with him. Gee whiz.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daryl Thompson and his mom are suing his brother Derek for money they say they paid to bail him out of jail.
How many children do you have with him?
4.
4 children with him. And how many times have you had him arrested for domestic violence?
Oh, a couple.
What?
A couple.
A couple is 2. How many?
I don't know, 2, 3 times, a couple.
About 8 times.
Excuse me. It has never been 8 times.
Just a second.
You want to see 8 times?
Let me ask you this.
Look
Even
in the
broke her
records.
hand
Thank
once
you.
trying to hit him.
Just a second.
This is why we were splitting up, because of our problems. So I took my stuff over to his mother's house because that's where he was going to be staying. As far as me having another man, that's none of their business.
Just a second,
That was
but
between her.
what my problem is, based upon the answer to their complaint and your counterclaim, because you say there was an argument, you came over to get your money, and you say she hit you in the face.
Yes.
That suggests to me that you took him back when he got out of jail.
No.
Yes, you
I
did.
did. Excuse me.
Shh. Go ahead.
No, I did not take him back. He stayed at my house for 2 times because I care about him a great deal. He is my kid's father. I let him stay there. Fine. I had no problem with it. We were still separated at this time. The whole time that he was at my house, it was like a jealousy thing that she had. The whole time he was at my house, I was not even away. I was not even there.
We just want the money back, primarily.
Just a second. Just a second. Tell me about your countersuit. Let me hear the countersuit.
Oh, I have a countersuit because when she came over one day, you know, she kicked him out of the house because she said he was staying at my house.
That's not the reason for the countersuit.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
I did not kick him out.
Hey,
You brought my clothes.
listen to me.
Well, she had, at this point, she had told her dad that I had supposedly disrespected her when he brought the clothes over. I'm getting to the part. Thank you.
Just get to it fast. You're standing
okay,
out on the front
she came over
lawn.
to my house and accused me of not letting him see the kids. Well, he was at my house seeing the kids. So I went downstairs to confront her about it, and I told her, I said, I'm tired of these lies. If you don't like it, get off my property, leave. That's when she swung at me.
And where did she hit you?
She hit me right here in my left cheek.
And
she also wrote this letter.
Just a second. When she hit you in your left cheek, did you go to the doctor?
No, I went to the police though because I figured I was going to.
Did you go to
no,
the doctor?
There was no need to.
But you're suing her for $2,000. What are you suing her for $2,000 for?
Emotional distress.
What happened? All right.
Just that, that she did it in front of her grandchildren, my children, other neighborhood kids, and also I have this letter here saying that she has my social security number, my checking account number, and she's going to do harm to us. because the money was not paid. I have no part of this. Why she got my social security number? Why is she going to do this? Can you look at this, please?
And
This
then
isn't
stating
her
how much
handwriting?
I was supposed to pay too.
Yes, it's her handwriting.
She wrote down how much I was supposed to pay back.
Yeah, it went from her money went from 500 to 3,000.
The 500 is what he promised that he would pay back on my telephone bill, plus money that he owed on rings that I let them use my Zelle credit card to buy
Just a
those
second.
wedding rings.
Stop. I can't read and listen to you at the same
Okay,
time.
I'm sorry.
This is a very straightforward letter. It says, Derek and Stacy, that's you two.
Yes.
Your tax refund was sent directly to Stacy's checking account with the checking account number, and it was mailed on March 21st.
I don't have a checking account.
We want our $2,500 today. Nothing wrong with this letter. Let me ask you this question. You had him arrested for domestic violence, which means he physically hurt you. How many times?
A few.
How many
Couple.
times did you
3.
sue him? How many times did you sue him?
Have I sued him? I've never sued him.
Why not? He put his hands on you. Why didn't you sue him?
Because the DA automatically picks it up, and I have no...
No. You can go to small claims court and sue him for assault, sue him for hurting you. I assume that he hurt you very badly if he was
No.
in jail on $50,000 bail.
No, that's not what
But
$50,000 was
why
for.
are you suing her? And I don't excuse the fact that she slapped you in the face, but you say yourself you weren't injured. Why in the world would I award you $2,000?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm very heartbroken, and I feel very hurt by the not being able to be with my grandchildren anymore.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Darrell Thompson and his mom are suing his brother Derek for money they say they paid to bail him out of jail.
Why in the world would I award you $2,000?
Just for the strain and everything that she's caused on me. My kids don't even want to be around them. I have a little baby.
I want to tell you something about strain. Let's talk about strain. Let's talk about these two people that live right across the street from you. You have 4 children with their father. Every other Monday and Thursday, he's getting arrested for domestic violence. He's also arrested for child molestation. This prize package has $50,000 bail on him. His parents bail him out. His mother and his brother bail him out. Not you, the mother of his 4 children. They bail him out.
Well, I don't think they bailed him out because supposedly I was with a quote-unquote another guy.
What different? No, they bailed him out.
He never, it's not like he put a gun to their head and told them to do it. He did it they did it on their own.
I want to tell you something. I feel
that
very
has
sorry.
nothing to do with me, though. I shouldn't have to be problems with her or her daughter either.
What I'm telling you is, and you're not listening to me, I really feel sorry for your 4 children. God, 4 children. Don't
Well, I
realize the
feel sorry
mistake
for them.
after you have 1 or 2 or 3, you got to have 4 children with him. Gee whiz. Listen, you're entitled to your money. Your house should not be in jeopardy.
Thank you.
Right? And you bailed your brother out. I assume you did so with the best of intentions.
Yes.
I'm going to suggest something else to you. This isn't the last time he's going to get arrested. That's my sense. Hold on to your house.
You won't be bailing him
Hold
out
on to your house.
Yes, I learned a lesson from this.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, and the countersuit is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back, go to your right, please.
The children are welcome at my house anytime.
Yeah, well, I don't want them over your house. The way you treat this family.
Stacey,
It's
okay?
only a
We
money.
just wanted the money back.
Well, good, you got your money, but you don't have to go through all this other Oh, I his friends.
Yes.
Excuse me,
Yes.
I his friend. Yeah, you better check yourself.
The family can hurt you the most.
Parties on Regas versus Foster. Step forward, please.
Carlos Regas, a massage therapist, loaned money to his neighbor Chris Foster to help pay his mortgage, but says he was never paid back.
You lent him money to make 2 mortgage payments so he wouldn't lose his house. Is that right?
That is correct.
Well, why did you lend him money? Were you friends? Did you know him?
Friends, yeah. I've known Chris for about 1.5 years. When I moved into the neighborhood, I'm renting a house like 2 doors down. And he would help us out, you know, cutting grass, helping around the garage, things like that. And so we became friends. And then, fortunately, his mother-in-law passed away, and they inherited a house.
They what?
They inherited the house, the house she was living in, yeah. And they came to me, let me know that there was a situation that had aroused, that they found out that the house was 2 months behind in mortgage. They had a friend of the family that was going to be able to help them out. And I said, you know, if you need any help, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. came to me a few days later saying they couldn't get hold of these people, this friend, if I would help them out. And I said, yeah, sure. You know, what do you need? Say it was 2 months behind. This is the amount we need.
How much?
It was $1,791.60.
And you made, according to your papers, checks payable directly to the mortgage company?
Yeah, to his mortgage company, yes. And I said, you know, I can't afford to lose this money. You know, so don't worry about it. I'll give it back to you within 5 days to 2 weeks, because these people will probably be back in town. I think he said they were on vacation. They'll come back in town. We'll contact them, get the money. I'll pay you back. And that was May 6, 1996.
Why didn't you pay him back the money, or did you?
Oh no, I haven't. And the reason why that why that transpired is because that the mortgage company is supposed to refinance on the properties so we can get the equity to pay him back immediately.
What does that have to do with him? That's your problem.
I understand you. I do understand you.
Well, why didn't you pay him back the money?
Because, as I said, it's not matter of I don't want to pay back him the money or anything like that. That wasn't a deliberate thing not to pay back. It's within all my intentions
Well, how many
to do
payments? Listen, sir,
Aye.
Mr. Foster.
Aye.
How many payments? How many $50 payments did you give him in the last year?
None whatsoever.
How many $25 payments did you give him in the last year?
None whatsoever.
Well, that makes you a deadbeat. That makes you a deadbeat, sir. This man who is not related to you by blood, is that right?
Yeah.
Just a friend.
Uh-huh.
For a year. You came to him and you said, I'm in trouble. I don't want to lose this house that I just inherited. Can you help me out for a short time? Is that what you said to him?
Yeah.
He said, sure. Nice man. Listen, I should take your number in case I ever get into any problem. He wrote out checks. Did he ask you to sign a note?
No.
Did he ask you for collateral?
Yes.
What collateral did you give him?
He suggested that we have antique furniture there within the garage. He will take them as collateral for payment or holding them until we can get the money to...
Does he have the furniture now?
He did come back and pick them up, my lady.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Let me explain something to you, sir. You have no case. None. He's 100% right. He's a very nice man. And you stiffed him. No?
No.
No, you...
No.
I'm telling you, you stiffed him. Let me ask you this question, sir. Who do you live with?
My wife and my kids.
How many kids?
3 kids.
You feed them?
Sure.
They have clothes?
Definitely.
Where do they get the clothes from?
The store.
Who buys them?
Myself and my wife.
You feed them?
Yes, I do.
Where do they get the food from?
The store. Where we work, we take care of it, yeah.
That's right. Something, goodwill over the last year, an effort, some small effort to show this man that he wasn't taken for a fool would have gone a long way. Something to say, I can't give it back to you, something happened. But he is not a partner in your misfortune. You just made this perfect stranger a partner in your misfortune. Mr. Regis, you are entitled to your judgment. I am granting you your judgment. You're not even asking for interest. Is that right?
No, ma'am. I just want to get back what I put into it.
Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,791.60. You're a good guy, sir. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And on
matter of Ireland versus Sin City. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
All right. This is an action for breach of contract, as I understand it. Miss Ireland, do you say that you signed a contract with the defendant's company to appear in 6 videos or 6 movies? Excuse me. To appear in 6 videos over a 6-month period, and you did not appear in those videos. You want to be fully compensated for that
That is
contract.
correct, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
For the most part, yes. That was a minimum of 6 videos that I signed for. I signed an exclusive contract with Sin City Entertainment, which kept me from making movies with any other company. And when I received no compensation for being exclusive with this company, and they put me in no movies of any kind, let alone the minimum 6 required for the contract, I have been forced to take this kind of proceedings.
May I see the contract, please?
Yes.
Who prepared this contract?
Mickey Blank's.
Is that you, sir?
Yes, it is.
Yes, I'm sorry. His secretary, I believe.
Is this your standard contract?
No.
Why not?
Well,
The reason I'm asking you this, your name is Blanks?
Blank, B-L-A-N-K, Blank.
Mr. Blank?
Yes.
The reason I'm asking you that question is, this is the most inartfully drafted contract that I've ever read. Now, so why wasn't she given your standard contract?
Okay, we don't have a standard contract. What that instrument is an agreement between an artist and our company.
Well, an agreement is a contract.
You could use the word contract, yes.
Of course.
Okay. We don't feel it's a formal contract as such. What this does, it benefits both the artist and our company by pulling our efforts together.
Your Honor, if I may, I'd like to point out that there was 2 other girls that were put under contract at the same time as I, and they have identical contracts to these.
This doesn't say it's an exclusive contract.
In the first line where I've highlighted, I believe it does say it's an exclusive contract between Sin City and myself.
Well, but that word is unclear. I mean, that is an unclear, I don't know what an exclusive legal and binding agreement.
It binds me from being able to work for any other companies. So for that 6-month minimum period, I was not allowed to do any work for other companies.
No.
What was your understanding?
At no point did we ever stop Kylie from working with anybody. My understanding of this agreement, okay, is as such. Sin City is a very top-of-the-line company in the adult entertainment field. We put out roughly 6 to 8 features a month. And the purpose of this contract was twofold. It benefited us and it benefited Kylie as well.
Why didn't you use her services?
What transpired, and if I give you a little bit more background on the situation, Kylie is an adult entertainer. She's one of the top entertainers in the industry, and she does very, very well. I'm sure the lion's share of her income is not generated by making adult videos. I'm sure that's through dance tours and all the other type of work that she does.
Is that true?
To an extent, yes, Your Honor, that is true. The reason he's going to tell you next that I went out on tour, and the reason that I went out on a dance tour is because they had no plans of using me in any movies and were not giving me my contracted money per month as they should have been. So I was forced to go out on tour to dance to make some income.
Well, they don't guarantee you to pay $1,000 a month.
They guaranteed that they would put me in one movie, which would contain at least a minimum of one scene, which would pay me a minimum of $1,000 per month.
But they could, for instance, have given you 4 movies in 1 month. Would that
And then they would have had to pay me more.
This is a very poorly written contract. Do you have a lawyer?
Yes, I do.
Did your lawyer read over this contract?
Yes, he did.
Before you signed it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Yes, he did.
And advised you to sign it?
He said that it was a legal and binding agreement, being not very official looking or not, it still bound me to exclusive contract work with this company, and that I should honor it if I was going to choose to enter into it.
Anyway, I'm going to let you finish, and then I'm come back to you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, basically, what I'm trying to bring out is our industry is very unique to itself. Okay, Kylie I'm sure, makes the lion's share of her income, not through making videos, but through her touring and her fan clubs and all the other type of work that she does. What the video does is keep her out in front of the public, okay, and working for Sin City, which is a very prestigious company. It adds that much more credibility to who she is and what she does. Kylie is at the top of the industry and dealing with a top company. At the time, it created a bunch of hoopla. She benefited greatly from the publicity. Right when she signed, we had a very large party honoring one of our movies, and we invited everyone from all over the world, all the press and everyone. And even though the party was honoring this movie, Kylie and some of the other girls who were under contract with us, were under this agreement with us, benefited greatly by it. Her picture was all over the magazines in this country.
So why didn't you use her?
What happened was, roughly about a month after the contract was signed, we had a trade show. And at that point, our company took a change of direction, and they put a new person in charge of production. And he's no longer there, by the way, but he was going off in a different step. We would have liked to use Kylie, but Kylie had obligations to dance and what have you.
Just a minute. About a month afterwards, you had a change of direction. What does that mean? Explain that to me.
We had a change of personnel. We hired a fellow named Ed Powers, who's very big in this industry, to do our productions. And Ed was going to take the company in basically a little bit different direction. Okay. However,
why you keep saying that? What kind of different direction?
Well, at the time we were doing a lot of features that were meant for Playboy and Spice Channel. Ed wanted to do stuff that was more reality-based type features, but we still would utilize Kylie if the conditions were correct. Kylie was.
What conditions?
If she was available, if it was there to be had. When I say if it was there to be had, no, if we lost communication for a period of a couple months, and it's not our job to hunt people down if they don't communicate. You know, if they're not there on us.
Well, do you have a phone number for her?
Yes.
Did you call her and say you have to come back? We have a film for you to do?
Not personally, no.
Did anybody that affiliated with you that you know of contact
I'm
her
not
within the
aware of
first
that.
month, second month, third month?
I'm sure there was some correspondence, but I'm not aware. I couldn't give you specific dates.
Did you have any correspondence with them a month afterwards, 2 months afterwards, 3 months afterwards?
I called Mickey, I called several other people at Sin City Entertainment, trying to see when we were going to shoot a movie, when we were going to do some more projects together. I was anxious. Like Mickey had said, we'd done a lot of promotion. We had been pushing the fact that we were now working together, Sin City and Kylie, Ireland, and we were going to make big projects, and we'd done all this hoopla, and nothing was coming out of it.
Later on Judge Judy.
Adult film stars are not complete and total bimbos, that a lot of us do treat this very professionally and that it is a business, and although we may be having a lot of fun doing it, take us seriously.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Adult movie star Kylie Ireland claims producer Mickey Blank and his production company reneged on a deal to star her in 6 movies.
I kept calling and calling. If Mickey is trying to say that he had a hard time reaching me, that is physically impossible because I carry on my person all the time a 800 paging system. So Sin City can call me toll free. It reaches anywhere in the United States, and it can get me at any time of the day. He also had my current home phone numbers as well as my cell phone numbers, so I was totally reachable. And one other thing I did do, and I still do this for my current company, I'm signed with a different company right now, VCA Pictures, is I make a schedule and I fax it to my employers each month, which lets them know when I'm scheduled to be dancing at this place or doing this bookstore signing.
Did you fax that to their company?
I have faxed copies of it to Mickey Blank, to Gigi Appleton, and to Mark.
We received one calendar that I'm aware of, and you were booked for the entire month.
I always send them in groups of 3 to 4, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, I was only aware, and I was there at the time. I only received one for 1 month, and you were booked for
How
the
many
month.
times did you have feature films during this 6-month agreement that you wanted to use her in?
Well, good question. Right after that time, I was changed to a different position.
So the answer is you don't know.
The answer is I don't know.
Well, she says that you only, according to her, contacted her once. And that was towards the end of the 6-month period. So she's giving you that. Now, why didn't you do that film?
Because they gave me 1 day's notice, Your Honor.
Do you know about that, sir?
Yes, I didn't know it was 1 day's notice, but I do know that there was some correspondence, and Kylie expressed that she was upset with the situation. So we kind of said, well, we have work for you. Would you like to do this?
Tomorrow.
I don't think it was 1 day.
In the contract, Your Honor, it states that I'm supposed to be offered first choice of the pick of the best of the movies, and they never called me, and I feel that them calling me 1 day before the project was to be shot is not only very unprofessional, even in the adult industry, but it was, well, shocking for one, but I think I was a replacement more than given the first choice.
Let me ask you this, sir. What I'm hearing is that shortly after you signed the plaintiff to this agreement, and it is loosely written, it is a contract, and it says you're going to use her 6 months, with an option really for another 6 months. You'll come back after 6 months, but for that 6-month period, she was supposed to work 6 films.
Right.
And I gather from what you're telling me, shortly after you signed this contract with her, your company hired and then took on a different direction from being films that were made for like Playboy Channel. You were going into reality. Do you know what that? I'm not going to go into that.
Right.
'Cause
Well, reality-based.
This is a family court.
Right.
Reality.
Right.
And then that person, for what is no longer with your company. Is that right?
That's correct.
So that for that 6-month period, am I to assume that Sin City Productions was sort of in a state of flux?
Not exactly. When I say we took a different course, we still made features. We still had films we were putting out each month that we could have possibly utilized Kylie in.
Well, then why didn't you?
What transpired was we lost the communication.
Well, but you don't know that, sir. You can't tell me. She sounds like a, listen, she may be the star of adult films. Sounds to me she's the star of adult films who has a very organized business sense.
Yes, she does.
Right?
Thank you.
This to her is a business.
Absolutely.
She's got an 800-pager so people can reach her all the time. She faxes, and I believe her when she says that. She faxes her schedule to the production company so that you know where she is at all times. So she's not some airhead.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We make it sound like Sin City wouldn't have benefited anything from having me under contract, though, and that amuses me.
Oh, don't
my
get me wrong.
movies sell very well, and you guys would have made a lot of money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Filmmaker Mickey Blank says he couldn't honor a deal to star actress Kylie Ireland in 6 sex films because he couldn't find her.
If you were making feature films, is it because this new person that you had decided that he didn't want to use this particular talent, that he wanted to use some other kinds of talents to make these reality movies?
Well, yes and no.
Well, even if it's partially yes, you're stuck.
Okay, well, let me clarify what I'm saying, okay?
Okay.
First of all, I do agree with you. Kylie is not an airhead by any means whatsoever.
Absolutely not.
She's highly successful, and she's at the top of her field, and deservedly so. But we feel it's not our job to track a star down. We make an agreement to make movies, okay?
Aren't you supposed to check in with you every day?
No, let me finish my sentence, please.
Yeah.
Often I did.
Okay. Well, what we do is, okay, one schedule I did receive, okay, was booked for the month. Okay, the following month, I can't say firsthand that I saw any kind of schedule fax whatsoever. To my knowledge, it wasn't, because I did have communication with the fellow who was in charge of production.
Well, if you had communication with the person who was in charge of production, I'm going to let you offer this one piece of hearsay, sir. How many times, and I think you're an honest person, how many times were you told that they tried to reach the plaintiff to do a film and could not?
I don't have an answer for that.
That's the issue. It would seem to me, and I'm a lay person, this is not my industry, this industry, or theatrical industry, but it just seems from a common sense perspective. I am a producer. I have a film that I want to produce. I have a talent that I want to utilize. I pick up the phone and I call that talent, either at a home or at a 1-800 number that she has so she can be beeped all over the place, and I say, I have a film that I want you to do next week, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks. Right? It would seem to me that the talent doesn't call you periodically because she might miss an opportunity. If the responsibility was hers and she, for instance, called you every 2 weeks, well, it was the odd week that the opportunity arose, and you're suggesting that she is to be penalized for that. No. It's the person who is producing these films who picks up the phone and says, I got a film, want you to do it, can you do it? And you can't tell me that anybody called her and said that, with the exception of this one time. The end of the contract. Am I correct?
Well, not since the beginning of the contract, also.
Well, I believe her.
Can I read you something?
Sure.
I brought along some of the magazines that covered the whole signing of the contract girls to Sin City. Most of them are AVN Magazine, the Adult Video News.
No, you don't have to read them to me. I have one question for you. Don't read them
Are
to
you
me.
sure?
As a matter of fact, I'm absolutely positive.
Okay.
Because they're really not relevant to this contract. I mean, I understand.
There's just a quote in there from Mickey Blank that I think you would find quite amusing.
Well, what does he say? All right. Just
Twist your
one quote. One quote. I'm always pleased to be amused.
It's called Ashley and Ireland Take Up Residence in Sin City. Mickey Blank, the general manager and self-described honcho of Sin City, couldn't be happier. In a move which he calls both fortuitous and a reflection of our new, more upscale image, the company has signed superstarlets Caitlin Ashley and Kylie Ireland to exclusive one-year contracts. We're very fortunate to have 2 of today's biggest stars working for us, says Blank. The girls were looking to sign exclusive deals, and we were looking to do the same. The timing was just right for everyone.
So why do you think you weren't called?
Your Honor, really have no idea. That's why I'm standing here today.
Was the other gal who signed this kind of contract used during that
No,
6-month period?
Neither of the other two girls were used, and one of the girls did take the case to court, and right as she says, as she was walking out the door, Sin City called her up and called her to the offices to go make a deal. The other girl just blew it off, which is what many girls in our industry do, which is very upsetting to me, and which is why I'm actually taking the steps to stand up for the little people, I guess you could say.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Blank, I understand that what happened to you was a change in company direction. Whether you had control over that direction, I'm not sure, but it's your company, so you're the one who's got the deep pockets. It seems clear to me that you did not comply with the terms of the agreement that you made with the plaintiff, with the possible exception of that one final film, because it doesn't say that you'd be given a certain amount of notice. However, your contract provides for 6 films over a 6-month period, which is $6,000. The limit of this court is $5,000. So even if we deduct the $1,000 for that one particular film that was offered to you and you rejected, that brings you down to $5,000, which is really what you're suing for. I believe you're entitled to that under this breach of contract, and I'm awarding $5,000 to the plaintiff. Thank you.
Thank you, Your
Parties
Honor.
are excused. You may step out. Back door 260 on the calendar in the matter of Dersawa versus Dersawa. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Are you Mrs. Dersawa?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Dersawa, do you think your son loves you?
I don't know.
Let me tell you what he says. Your papers indicate that your son removed some guns from your house that were your guns.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Your son says that he removed the guns from your house because he was concerned about you and concerned for his mother.
Yes.
Do you think he had reason to be concerned?
Yes, I certainly do.
Why were you concerned about your father's safety and your mother's safety?
Both of them. There have been very violent fights between the two of them, several 911 calls. My father had 2 strokes. My mom had 1. During that time, there were 3 suicide attempts by my father. I had just learned of it, that that's what the events were on the 3rd one, and I removed the guns at that time. After I removed the guns, a 4th attempt was made, where he attempted also to take my mom with him, as he put it.
How?
She went to make a 911 call because she found him in the car. He had stabbed himself in the arm. And this was on my birthday. And she went to make the 911 call, and he grabbed her, put her on the ground, throttled her throat, and said he was going to take her with him.
And how long ago was that?
That was about 3.5 years ago.
And your parents are separated?
Yes.
Since?
During that time is when he asked for the weapons back, was right when they started separation. And I asked him, I said, Dad, I don't want to give them back to you. What do you need them for? And he said that he needed them for the money. I told him I would be glad to purchase them from him at that time. He said he was not interested in me having the firearms and was going to do anything he could to get me free of them.
Mr. Dersawa,
Yes.
Senior, is everything that your son says so far accurate?
Yes, it is.
Don't you think he did the smart thing by removing the guns?
Yes, I certainly do think that he did the right thing, and I thanked him very much for taking on the responsibility of removing the guns from the house.
But what do you want now, sir?
I asked for the guns to be returned to me.
Why do you
And
need
he refused to return the guns to me, and I told him at that time that they were my personal property. They did not belong to him or anybody else except me, and that I wanted them back.
What do you want them for?
I originally wanted them back to hang on the wall as mementos of my childhood. And since then, I was flexible and had second thoughts, and I thought, jeepers, I'm in fairly good health. I'm in good frame of mind.
and there's no reason why I should not have the guns. And I told him to return them to me. They are my personal property, and when I thanked you for them, that didn't mean that you could keep them for the rest of your life. They are mine, and I want them, and I want you to return them to me. And if you don't return them to me, I am going to take you to court. If it costs me a lot of money in attorney's fees, I am going to expect you to reimburse me the attorney fees that it costs me to get the guns back. And he didn't listen to me, I don't think.
He seems like a pretty responsible young man that you raised, and a very nice young man. You ever had any difficulty with him before? Huh?
Yes, many times.
Okay. As an adult, sir,
Yeah.
how old are you?
I'm 42 years old.
Married or single?
Married.
You have children?
No.
Are you employed?
Yes.
What kind of-
Self-employed. I'm a photographer and hairstylist.
You remain close with your mother?
Yes.
Is that right?
I would like to say one thing, that it seems to me when my husband is angry at me, he tries to take it out on him because he knows how close we are.
How many children do you have?
I have 2, Tim and Max Dursaway.
Are you the older brother?
Yes.
Where are the guns now?
The guns are at a friend of the family's house.
You put a value in your complaint on these guns of $500.
Yes.
None of us live forever, Mr. Dershowitz. What did you suppose would happen to these guns when you were no longer here?
I really couldn't care less.
Well, that's a good attitude. I mean, it really is a good attitude.
I hope they're safe, and I hope that if anybody does get them, that they are in as good a shape as I believe that they are at the present time.
Did you at one time have issued against you by any court an order of protection or a restraining order with regard to your wife?
Yes.
And when was that?
Most of last year.
At the same time that he requested the guns back from me.
Okay. Does anybody have a copy of this restraining order?
I do.
May I see it, please? How long were you and your wife married?
It'll be 43 years, I can tell you, June 10th, this year. And I'm still going to be married on June 10th, if I'm alive.
Have there been divorce proceedings filed?
No, we both agreed to a separation. However, we agreed to a separation a long time ago, and she decided for some reason or another that she would make it legal and go through the legal procedures of getting a separation. So she hired an attorney, and then I hired an attorney to protect my rights, because at that time she told me that she was going to take everything she could get.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
We're family. We don't need to go to court over this. All you have to do is tell me what you want and I'll cut you a check.
And later today,
Your son was acting like an idiot. Your son was acting like a fool.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Max Dershowitz is suing his son Max Jr. for the attorney fees he spent to get his guns back. Max Jr. had the guns removed for fear of his father causing harm.
Are you living alone now, sir?
Yes.
Do you see your other son? Do you visit with your other son?
Well, when I get an opportunity.
Where does he live?
He lives in Riverside.
That's not so far away. You have grandchildren?
Yes, 2 grandchildren.
Do you visit with them?
Yes, usually they come down to the house where I'm living, and it's so short visit, I hardly even know that they've been there.
Mr. Dershowitz, I am, quite frankly, sir, sympathetic with your position to this extent. What you're saying to me is, I'm a grown-up, I'm an adult, I have all my faculties about me, and I don't want my children to start to make decisions for me about what's good and what's bad. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, perfect.
On the other side of that coin, sir, I am really most sympathetic with your son. Because if he were the one who returned these guns to you, and you used one of these guns either to harm yourself or to harm his mother, his life's over. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
His life is over.
Yes.
And I don't think any parent would want that for their child. I mean, if you came here, Mr. Dershowitz, and said to me, I've never done anything to suggest to my son that I would harm myself or harm his mother, and he really has no basis to be concerned about these guns that are mine, I would feel very differently, sir. But that's not the case. You have attached a financial amount of money in your lawsuit.
Yes.
You are suing for money. And I will feel more comfortable. So put the burden on me so that maybe you can make friends with your son again. I am going to give you a judgment for the money. And I am going to direct you, sir, to ensure that these guns, which are mementos of your father's history, you know, he's had them in his family for years. I don't know whether your brother has sons who might be interested in having these hunting rifles at some point in their lives, but he would, despite the fact that he says he doesn't care what happens to him when he's gone, I think he would probably like to know that they remain in his family, for whatever reason.
Yes.
Fine. So I'm going to give you, sir, a judgment for the exact amount that you are requesting, and you keep the guns safe. Got it?
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Please excuse you. You may step out. Here you are, sir. I'll back to your right, please.
We're family. We don't need to go to court over this. All you have to do is tell me what you want, and I'll cut you a check.
And now the next case.
Body's on Smith versus Brown. Step forward, please.
Walter Smith and his 15-year-old son, Brian Davis, say Joseph Brown's 16-year-old son, Joe Jr., poured bleach on their carpet. Joe Jr. says Brian threatened him with a snake.
You the one with the snake?
Yes.
Up here. You the one with the bleach?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor.
Up here. And you are the fathers of these two geniuses.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
What's your first name?
Brian.
Brian, tell me what you did to this young man with your snake.
Well, we were out.
No, over here.
We were out in front of the houses, and I had a snake, and I went like this, like I was going to put it on him.
What kind of snake did you have?
A red-tailed boa, just a little snake about this big.
Well, you said this big, and then you
Well,
said this
about
big.
like-
Is it growing?
About this big.
About this big?
Yeah, about this big.
And what, you made believe you were going to put it on him?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
I don't know. I was just messing around.
And then what happened?
And then he threw like a icy or a Slurpee or something, I don't know what you call it, threw it on me. And then I went back towards my house and put the snake in the garage and got a cup of water and went back outside to throw it on him. And when I got out there, he had a cup in his hand, and he said, if you throw that on me, I'm gonna throw this on you. And it was bleach in a little cup. And then what I did is I pushed it out of his hand and threw the water on him and started going home. And then he came out of his house afterwards with a whole gallon of bleach. When I got into my house, I shut my door and he started to pour it on my back, and it got all over the carpet. And then my mom started coming downstairs, and then he went back home.
Your side.
Well, it was me, him, and a couple of other people. We were supposed to be going to the bowling alley. But instead, the dude that was supposed to be driving us said that he didn't want to go. So what we did instead is we stood outside and talked. He had his snake. This snake, I don't know what kind of snake it was, this big snake. The snake is hissing and snapping and jumping up. They thought it was funny. He turned the snake on me. So I said, get the snake away from me. I guess he didn't want to listen. Then I had went in the house and I came out with my soda. And he was like, what's in your cup? What's in your cup? And I was like, soda, right? And he knocked the cup out of my hand, threw something on me. I looked down at my clothes. My jeans and my shirt were starting to fade, so I assumed it was bleach because it was a yellowish color when he threw it out at me. I went in my house, got a thing of bleach and came out, and I ran after him because he was running towards his house. He ran in his house. We ran in a complete circle around the kitchen and all the way to the thing. He turned around and he tackled me. And I had the bleach in my hand. We were on the ground and the bleach was going everywhere. His moms had just came down when we was on the ground. I didn't go in the house and throw any bleach anywhere.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
We might have could have resolved the matter, but he was adamant about having my son arrested.
Your son's the one that came into my home. You should have came over. You knew what he did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Walter Smith and his 15-year-old son, Brian Davis, say Joseph Brown's 16-year-old son, Joe Jr., poured bleach on their carpet. Joe Jr. says Brian threatened him with a snake.
Why does your son have a boa?
He likes snakes. It's out in the garage. They keep it in an aquarium out in the garage.
He didn't keep it in the aquarium.
No, that day he had it out. But the account of the story, what he's saying, based on
Were you home?
Sean. No.
Were you home?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
You don't know what happened.
Just from my little son that witnessed it, Sean. He saw the whole thing happen. It didn't happen like he's saying it happened at all.
Sean wasn't even out.
Listen to me. Sit there. I don't want to get him involved, sir. Your son was acting like an idiot. Your son was acting like a fool.
I agree.
You think that his father should pay for all the damage to your rug?
Yes, I think his father's responsible for Joseph's actions since he's a minor. And he broke into our home, and we had nothing to do with it.
No, he didn't break into your home.
I broke into your home.
Hey!
He came through our front door when it was closed and came in and poured bleach all over my son and the carpet of my home.
Who started it?
Well, that's two different stories, Your
No,
Honor.
no, he told me the story. Your son told me the story, Mr. Smith. I assume you believed your son was responsible enough to have possession of a snake. Not a little teeny garter snake, but a boa that's about so big. Then if you are not a snake lover, you a snake lover, Bird?
Not really, Judge.
You wouldn't like it if somebody fooling around came over to you and tried to put the boa around your shoulders or on you, which is what he did.
Your Honor, I wanted to say something that this matter, I thought maybe could have been resolved between me and the neighbor. When I came home that afternoon, I had left, and the neighbor told me that she had called the police that Joseph had spilled some bleach on the carpet and that Brian had threw water on Joseph. And she said the reason she called the police was that she didn't know what time I was getting home.
Why did you call the police? Who called the police?
I did.
Why?
When I got home from the doctor.
Why?
Because someone had came through my front door unannounced, uninvited, into my home, invaded my home, and dumped bleach all over my carpet.
Mr. Smith, didn't your son tell you that he and his friend were out there and they were fooling around and it got out of hand?
Yes.
Just a
yes,
second.
ma'am.
Just a second. So why would you call the police?
I just told you that, Your Honor. I told you why.
The incident was precipitated by a dumb thing that your son did. This was not a burglary in the middle of the night, sir. They had been friends, and he's a neighbor of yours. I don't understand why you called the
It was an
police.
invasion of my privacy. That's my home.
All right. Mr. Smith, you're not willing to accept any responsibility for what your son did. How old are you?
16.
Let me see the bill for the carpet.
Your Honor, I was going to say that I thought maybe we could resolve it between as neighbors, but when they decided to press charges against my son for vandalism and assault.
Okay. The entire bill for this looks like $1,720. Is that right?
Plus 120 for the my son's clothes that were completely destroyed by the bleach.
I don't care about your son's clothes. Your son started this whole problem.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
This act of lunacy was started by you and finished by you, right?
Right.
So each of you have to pay half. That sounds fair to me.
$860, Judge.
You're way ahead of me, Bird. So, Mr. Smith, if you want to be fully compensated, then get your son to get a job and give you $860. And from these folks, I suggest you don't pay this for him. Let him pay for it. You know, Let him do something to pay for it. Teach them all a good lesson. Right?
Right.
You feel any responsibility towards what happened?
Yeah, I feel responsible for what I did.
Good. What about you?
Yes, ma'am.
Good! Only problem is your father. He doesn't see it yet, but maybe he will. $860, which is 1/2 of the cost of the carpet. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next.
Judges number 74 on the calendar in the matter of Osborne versus Holdman Chesmar. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
You're Mr. Chismar?
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat for a moment, sir, even though you're a co-defendant in this case.
Right.
My reading of these papers suggests that you're really not a party in interest to this. Mr. Osborne, I've read your complaint, sir. You and the defendant were engaged for about 2.5 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
And during that engagement period, you had a child.
Yes, ma'am.
Sort of not the way things are supposed to happen, you know.
She had asked me to marry her.
No, she didn't make the baby herself, right?
Well, she wanted the...
Order.
She wanted the child. I did not at the time. Because I didn't know about our relationship and trusting her.
Mr. Osborne.
Yes, ma'am.
Engaged for 2.5 years, had a child. According to you, you were in jail for something. You'll tell me what in a minute. She moved out. When she moved out, she took $1,500 worth of your personal property.
And my child.
And your child. No. So, what were you in jail for?
I had a warrant for $100 owed to Burbank Court. And I had gotten in a fight with a friend over buying a car. We were wrestling in the driveway. The neighbors had called the police. They asked me if I had any warrants. I told them yes. And they took me in on that, and that only.
Why didn't you take care of these warrants?
Because we had moved in together and got a one-bedroom, and it was the expense of the child and all that. I couldn't afford it at all. I was trying to make a life for us and
stop
pay
it.
utilities.
You're making me cry. What were the warrants for, sir? Warrants for parking tickets, driving while under the influence,
No,
speeding.
driving on a suspended license. I had done the time for it, but I owed court assessment, $100.
And how long were you in jail?
10 days.
And what happened while you were in jail?
In that time, she had taken my stuff, her stuff, and my child, and left the state.
Ms. Holdman, first, why don't you tell me why you left while he was in jail?
Well, first of all, we had a 3-day notice because Mr. Osborne did not get a job, and I could not pay rent and bills on my own.
Were you working?
No, I am disabled.
What's the nature of your disability?
Epilepsy.
So you received a disability check for yourself and the child?
No, at the time I was not receiving disability yet. I was on AFDC.
Okay. AFDC was paying the rent, so why did you get a notice to leave?
Because I could not afford the full amount
were
of rent.
behind.
And I could not afford the full amount of rent, and I could not afford all the bills. Mr. Osborne had run up phone bills that I have, and he did not give any part of his to help pay for bills or rent.
So you decided to leave. There had to be more than that.
No, ma'am. We got the pay or quit before he went to jail, and he
I
knew that we had to move.
Is that the pay or quit notice?
Yes, I
May
have
I
two
see
of
it,
them.
please?
They only
Okay.
asked for $50 to continue the rent. They made a deal with us.
You decided to move out. I have a feeling that there was more to the reason that you moved out and moved far away than just this pay and quit notice. But you left. Now, the question is, did you take any of his property with you?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Now, he's suing for $1,500. What property do you say she took?
She took dishes, clothes,
Just a
her
minute.
king-size bed that she had loaned us.
Just a second. Hold on. Let's go slowly, Mr. Osborne. Let's start with the bed.
Right.
The bed wasn't yours.
No.
Good. So let's forget
But
the
Lorraine
bed.
wants it back.
Just a
It
second.
was a
That's
loan.
her problem. I'm talking about you. She's not a co-plaintiff. You. What stuff did she take of yours?
She took ultrasound photos of the child and everything I had of the child.
Not everything. I want to hear, sir, what she took. Ultrasound photos of the child.
Yes, ma'am.
What
She
else?
took all my clothes.
Clothes. You say she took your clothes?
Yes.
What else did she take?
There was a fish tank, equipment, a little miniature pool table that I had for Brandy.
What else?
She had taken all my dishes.
Dishes?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of dishes, sir? Limoges?
Plates, cups, glasses.
What else? That's not...
Everything in the apartment. Everything in mine that I had.
Mr. Osborne?
Yes, ma'am.
This is not why you're here, sir.
No, I'm here because of Brandy.
No, this is not why you're here, because this is a lot of baloney.
It is. And I don't care about the material things.
Because you're suing her for $1,500, but so far you haven't given me $15 worth of stuff.
I have all kinds of things that in a value. I had 4 suits in there that were $600 each. I had all my clothes. That adds up.
Are you telling me you spent $600 a piece on 4 suits? You must have some good job.
And yes, I did.
Why would I have any use for your suits anyways?
Listen
why
to me.
would I take
I don't know why.
Mr. Osborne, you're not here because of this property,
I'm here because of
sir.
Brandy. I could care less about my stuff, material things.
Well, what do you
If
want?
I win, I'm going to use that to get visitation. She will not let me see my child, and she says, take me to court.
I tried to let you see your kid.
Just a second. So she says in her answer to your complaint that this is all about getting some money so that you can hire a lawyer, so that you can sue her in whatever the domestic relations or family court is in
Visitation,
your
that's
jurisdiction.
all.
Is that why you're here, sir?
Yes,
to get
ma'am,
money
it is.
so that
Yes,
you can hire a lawyer?
Yes, I was hoping to see my child today, and she's not.
That's why you're here?
Yes.
To get money for a lawyer?
Yes.
This is not a proper forum for you, sir, to abuse the system, to come to court for that reason.
No, I also I need some clothes, something to wear.
Did you take any of his clothes?
No, Your Honor, I did
now,
not.
Now, you're a co-defendant. Stand up, sir. You're suing him because why?
He was a party of taking my stuff. He helped her move out.
How do you know
He's
that?
a witness of all of.
Just a second. How do you know that?
She had told me, and
Who
there was
told
another.
you?
There's another.
Who told you?
Who told me? John Brown, another friend of Lorraine's, who was told her Lorraine that he had helped her
Can't
move
hear all
out.
that. I mean, it's a court, sir. Did you help her move when she left?
The only thing I moved out of there, I didn't move anything personally, ma'am. I had just had back surgery, so I wasn't lifting or doing any of that. They had brought out a dresser, the king-size bed, 2 dressers, and that was it. That's all I hauled.
You didn't haul that yourself?
No, ma'am.
What about her clothes? What about her stuff?
I didn't haul any of that.
Do I look like I need help? What does that have to do with you, her clothes?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Kelly and I were.
When I
you
get to that
shut your
house,
mouth.
go ahead, hit me, and I'll put a lawsuit against you.
Yeah, I'll bet you will.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 26-year-old Kevin Osborne is suing the mother of his child, Kelly Holdman, for running out with their daughter and leaving their apartment bare.
You had somebody, according to these papers that I have, come in and take out your things.
A friend, the most expensive stuff. My
You
tools.
had a friend come in and take out
Right,
some things.
Your Honor, I don't know who took my stuff.
Mr.
I don't know if it was
Osborne,
my friend.
Did
if
you
it was
just say to me that you had your friend come in and take out the most expensive things, your tools?
Yes, because that's what I did for a living.
Well, then it's not logical, Mr. Osborne, for the defendant to have taken suits which she can hardly use and left the most expensive thing
She does it to-
with the tools. I mean, if she was going to take something to sell them, certainly it would have been far smarter for her to take the tools, which she probably could have sold.
She plays games, and she takes it just to
I
when I get out of jail, so I have nothing.
So
she wants
far,
to ruin
Mr.
me.
Osborne, the one who's playing a game is you, who's playing a game with a court.
No, ma'am. No,
with
ma'am.
a court, because you're not here because of the things she allegedly took from your apartment.
Yes, I am.
Your problem, the two of you, is that you made a baby and you had no right to make a baby until you had made a life together. That's what you did. That's a
why
mistake.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a
That's
mistake.
why I wanted to wait to have
I
a
want to
child.
tell you something. I would run away from you too, sir. You don't know how to be quiet. I mean, there's something very controlling about your manner. What I'm telling you is you made a baby, you had no business making a baby, but now baby has 2 parents. So I assume that eventually a judge is going to hear this case. I assume you've been legally declared the father of this child, sir, is that right?
No, not legally, but it's in the birth certificate.
That's not legally. Well, if you... What?
That's all I have. I don't have the money to do a DNA test.
Another reason why I left him also is because he's mentally and physically abusive, and I have proof of that. I have permanent scars on my body that I've never asked him for a penny. He's lived off of me all his life since since we
I
got
want to pay
together.
child support. She won't even let me pay child support.
Then that was very bad judgment on your part.
Yes, it was. And
especially if you have a disability. That's very bad judgment on your part to live
Yes,
with
ma'am.
somebody who is abusive. Clearly, this was not a relationship that was destined to go on for 25 years. Unfortunately, you made this child, and the child has two parents. All I want to know, sir, is you don't need $1,500, which is what you're suing for, to go into court and file a petition asking legally to be declared the father of this child. Once you're legally declared to be the father of this child, along with that comes certain rights. One of the rights is to have a regular time to see your daughter. Regular. That's what's supposed to happen. It's not supposed to be a controlling situation so that you call whenever you want to see the child.
I realize
because
that,
clearly that's not going to work here. So you're going to have somebody else set up a schedule for you. But you have to go into court to do that. Are you still receiving AFDC?
Yes, ma'am, just for the child, and I'm receiving disability for myself.
Well, if she's receiving AFDC
Your
for the
Honor?
child,
Your Honor, when she was living with me, in all the places that she was living, she was getting AFDC and welfare and saying that she was living at their house. That's perjury. That is lying to the social service who I'm talking to now on fraud, welfare fraud.
I don't think so.
Notified welfare when she moved.
let me tell you something.
She
sir.
worked with my mother. I moved her in when I first met her to take care of nurse and take care of my mom and maid. And she did not claim that she was living there earning money.
Yes,
Lorraine
I
is
did. I told the
Lorraine is a
welfare
witness.
office.
Is all that Kelly, her granddaughter, has done to me. I'm living with Lorraine now. We were supposed
First
to get
of all,
married.
she's not my legal grandmother.
No, but she took custody of Kelly when she was 12 years old.
No, she did not. I ran away to her when I was 12.
Listen, I'm really not interested in going back to the flood, sir. What I'm telling you is, and I don't mean to be hard on you, I really don't mean to be hard on you, but this is the mother of your child. You're not supposed to put her in jeopardy. By what you just said to me now, you have placed her in jeopardy. Why would you want to do that?
Because she is not.
Why?
She's not a fit mother. That's why.
And like you're a fit father.
I have witnesses that she was
Well, listen,
at
you tell
a bar drunk, staggering, and she's supposed to be a mother of my child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did I ever hit you?
Yeah, what the hell is this?
Oh no.
What is this?
You were drunk.
Yeah, I was
I
drunk.
pushed you. Did I
Yeah,
hit you?
I was
No.
drunk. Yeah.
And later today,
Do you really believe in this position that you've taken for me?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, then let me tell you where you're all wet.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
I would hope that whatever judge hears your case and hears your petition for paternity and custody or visitation, whatever you will be seeking, does a full forensic examination, that is a full psychiatric and psychological evaluation of both of you. And I would assume that once those forensics are done, if they are done by a qualified person, the judge will have all the information that he or she needs to make an appropriate order for custody or visitation. My case here is a very simple one. You have not established to my satisfaction that she took anything from this apartment that belonged to you, and I am dismissing your lawsuit. With the proviso, sir, that if you want visitation, and not just to be tootin', you go into court yourself, you don't need a lawyer, you petition the court to be legally declared the father of this child. They will immediately make an order of support so that I, the taxpayer, don't have to support your child, which I am doing now.
She won't let me pay child
Just a
support.
second.
She wants
I
to
don't want
keep
you-
collecting
just a second.
AFDC and get my child away from me.
Listen to me. Judge, listen to me, Judge. Full forensic examinations before you make any order. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
She keeps their marriage going, and she's told me some of the things that she does with them.
He's jealous.
He's jealous of the relationship
Maybe because
that we
he has
have.
to sit in his bedroom with his mags.
Parties on Young versus Cornelius. Step forward, please.
Financial controller Lucinda Young says she loaned Aaron Cornelius money and even adjusted his tax deductions because she felt sorry for him, but he won't pay her back.
Ms. Young, I gather that you work in the accounting department where the defendant works as an employee. Is that correct?
I'm the controller.
According to your complaints, he came to you and asked to borrow $168. That was a personal loan. You gave him $168. He hadn't paid you back.
Right.
Is that it?
That's it.
You say it has nothing to do with a personal loan.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Well, let's hear what your defense is.
My defense is that she had told me that the government was taking too much money away from me on each paycheck, that she can correct that by blocking my taxes for periods of time.
What do you mean blocking your taxes?
Basically where the money comes to me now instead of at the end of the year.
So she was going to add more deductions for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you say in your answer to this claim that as a result of that, it cost you some money.
That's correct.
How much money did it cost you?
Approximately almost $500 at the end of the year that I ended up owing due to this block.
It's not a block. It's just changing the number of deductions.
Changing the number of deductions, yes.
Well, let me ask you, sir, how did you come to ask her, how did she come to give you this $168? I want you to tell me exactly what happened. She's in her office.
Right. I had approached her and told her that due to what we have did to my paycheck, that it had ended up making me owe at the end of the year, and you know, it was hurting me financially, and she had offered to help. And she said she had wrote me out a check for $168, and I said thank you, and I didn't assume that it was a loan due to the fact that it was her negligence that brought me to this point anyway.
Now you want to tell me your version of how this came about?
Well, Aaron came into my office and said, I've been making payments all along to the IRS. And this was in October of '96, so obviously his tax return, I assume, was filed on time in April. He said, I owe $168, or they're going to garnish me. Well, we don't like garnishments where I work because they cause a little extra work for all of us. And, you know, I've known Aaron for as long as he's worked at the company. And I said, Aaron, how much is it? How much do you need to not be garnished? He said, $168. I said, okay, I'll write you a check. Pay me back when you can. Here's $168. The garnishment came through next week, the following week. I said, what'd you do with the money? But obviously that's history now. It doesn't matter.
Okay, but you said to him, here's the $168, pay me back when you can.
He offered to sign a note. In fact, that was the first thing he said before I even offered to give him the money. He said, I'm happy to sign a note, whatever it takes, but I need this money now. I said, you don't need to sign a note. I know you. You've been working here a while. I won't do it again, but...
Now, Mr. Cornelius, do you really believe in your position, sir?
Excuse me?
Do you really believe in this position that you've taken before me?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Well, then let me tell you where you're all wet.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
She explained to you, if I believe what you say, that if you took, let's say, 4 deductions, you would get more in your salary each week, and it would probably be a wash with regard to taxes. You wouldn't have to pay any taxes, and you would end up with more dollars in your hand, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So what happened was, you still got more dollars. She didn't get any gain out of this, you did. If she put more deductions, that means you got more money in your paycheck each week. Why should she have to pay for that? She didn't write a company check, she wrote her own personal check. You still got the money.
Okay.
Now, did you go to her office and say, if I don't send them $168, they're going to garnish my salary?
That's correct.
And did she say to you, I'll give you the $168 because we don't like that to happen, you'll give it back to me when you can?
She had said to assist me, yes. She did say she would assist me, yes.
You left out the last part, Mr.
That's
Cornelius.
correct, because I don't recall that part.
Well, she recalls it, and it sounds very logical to me.
Well, I have it in an email here that he intended to pay me back.
Because you kept hounding me about it, and I was going to try to
just a
square it away.
second. Did you put it in a letter to her that you were going to pay her back?
Yeah, because she kept
Good.
hounding me about it.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $168. Thank you. That's
Parties
all.
are excused. You may step out the back door to your right. Your Honor, this is number 71 on the calendar in the matter of LeBeuf versus Corlett.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Judges, parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
You know the defendant. You had a birthday party. You say he broke your door, the door to your house. Tell me about it.
I had a birthday party, a dual fiesta party. It was.
What is that? What's a dual fiesta party?
Meaning two people threw it. My friend and I threw it.
For yourselves?
Yes, for ourselves. It wasn't just a regular party. We rented a tent. We had a band. We had an open bar, food. Chris was one of the guests. He came. He brought his brother Matt, which is the witness, and his younger brother, and his younger brother's friend. The whole party went on throughout the night. I guess one of the younger brother's friends got in a fight with another person at the party. Matt ended up coming over to break up the fight. Matt ended up getting knocked out. Chris came running over, saw Matt knocked out, turned to me and said, "Call 911." And I looked over at Matt. I did not see him in the shape of 911 emergency. And I said,
What
no.
do you mean you didn't see him in the shape of 911 emergency?
He was getting up. He was standing up.
But he had been knocked to the ground?
I believe so.
What do you mean you believe so? If he was getting up, he had to be on the ground.
Well, yeah, he was getting up off the ground.
Right. So his brother came over and said, "Call 911."
Mm-hmm.
Because someone had just assaulted his younger brother.
Yes.
And what did you do?
I said, "Why don't you take him to the hospital that's about a mile down the street?" Chris ignored me, went over to my front door, kicked down my front door, went in, called 911, came back out, grabbed his brother's friends, whom, by the way, were underage, the people that he brought to the party, and was allowing them to drink.
No, you were allowing them to drink. If it was
Well, I
in
didn't
your
know who
house.
they were. Chris brought them. They were actually uninvited guests.
Then you should have told them to leave.
I didn't know. There was a lot of people at the party. Chris ended up leaving the party before 911 had got there. 911 arrived. I had to explain to 911 why there was no victim on the scene. They were telling me they were going to charge me and they would let it go this time. Chris came over the next day with Matt to pick up a friend of theirs that spent the night and still had not gone to the hospital. Matt was saying, "Oh, you know, I'm hurt and all this stuff." It still had not gone to the hospital. So to go on with the story, so then I said to Chris agreed, you know, that he kicked down the door and that he would fix it.
Why was the door locked?
Because we had people going around to the side door because we had carpeting. We had people going through where there was linoleum.
Okay, so, if they had to use any of the parts of the house, like the bathroom, they went go around the side of the house.
We had signs saying bathroom this way.
So, is how she related the story pretty much the way it happened?
Well, it's colorful, but it's highly inaccurate.
I'm here to listen.
Well, boy, I don't know where to begin. I saw my
Don't
brother...
begin at the flood. Just begin at the time you saw your brother assaulted.
I saw my brother assaulted out of the corner of my eye, and he was hit in the head with the gentleman's fist, and then kicked in the head.
You mean when he was down?
When he was down, he was kicked in the head. In fact, he had a CAT scan. I mean, he was unconscious for what I considered a long period of time.
Even a minute is a lot.
I ran over to him. Miss LaBeouf, like she said, was there. I did ask her to call 911. She said, "Just give him a minute, he'll be fine." And he was unconscious, completely unconscious. I asked her again to call 911. She would do nothing, so I ran to the front door, which was the closest door to where the incident took place, and it was locked. And I kicked the door in, and I dialed 911. And I have a police report here that documents exactly what I did.
Why didn't you wait for the police, sir?
When I came back to my brother, Missy was still there. He slowly regained consciousness, and I asked him. I said, "Matt, what can I do for you?" I mean, I've never been so scared in my life. I mean, and he said, "Just get me out of here. Just get me out of here." We didn't know who this guy was. We'd never met him. We'd never even seen him. We didn't know if he had 10 friends there.
You're Matt.
Yes.
Step up, sir. How did this incident begin?
Well, after I was assaulted, I really, don't have much recollection of what happened.
Immediately
okay,
before.
I was talking to one of my friends who was also a guest at the party, and like Missy said, there had been an altercation earlier in the night with this young man that was at the party, and I remember that they had exchanged words, and there was a fight about ready to be broken out. So I turned around with actually like this, because I was talking to another young lady, and I said, "Excuse me," And I said, you know what, we don't want to fight. I said, we're here for a birthday party. No one wants to fight. You know? I turned my head, and the next thing I knew it, he hit me right in the head. I fell to the ground, shaking like this. I tried to get up like this, and I turned my head, and he booted me right in the face. And out I went. And after that, that's really what happened.
Since February 28th, there's been a Class 1 felony assault with a deadly weapon out for this gentleman's arrest.
What they're forgetting to tell you also is Chris was allegedly trying to blackmail me to find out this person's name for him, or else he said he wouldn't fix my door.
It would seem to me that since this incident occurred in your home and one of your invited guests was assaulted, you would want to be as cooperative as possible and find out the name of the person.
Yeah.
Why did it require this kind of blackmail in order to get you to get out there and get this name for them?
It didn't require anything. They were making a mountain out of a molehill out of this whole situation.
That's not a mountain out of a molehill, madam.
He could have been killed.
I want to explain something to you. If somebody had come up to you, just you, at your birthday party, punched you in the face, and then kicked you in the head, I guarantee you wouldn't be standing there saying to me, he's making a mountain out of a molehill.
Your Honor,
Shut!
Oh, I'm sorry.
Listen, when it looks as if you're winning, you're supposed to shut up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The whole thing is they were drinking all night long. It was 2:30 in the morning, and they really didn't know what they were doing.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chris Corlett says that he had no choice but to kick Missy LaBeouf's door down at Missy's party.
Miss LaBeouf, I have a couple of questions for you. My sense is that I'm not getting a full story from you with regard to his condition at the time he asked you to call 911. Because common sense would tell me that you were having a birthday party and the prospect of having the police arrive because of an emergency was not something that you relished. So I doubt whether he was as in good shape as you suggest he was when this young man asked you to call 911.
No, that had nothing to do with it. The party, it was 2:30 already. The party had been going all night long. I cared more about my friend. I've known Matt since 8th grade. I went to homecoming with him my freshman year.
So why didn't you just go inside and call 911?
I would have, but Chris was completely irate and drunk and overreacting. If Chris said, Missy, go in and call 911, and I looked over and I saw Matt in a completely knocked out condition, I would have. Matt was getting up. First of all, you can ask my witness.
He said that he was punched in the face and kicked in the head, and he has no recollection of anything after that.
Then why did Matt go to the hospital that night is what I want to know.
When did you go to the hospital, sir?
I went to the hospital the next morning, right after I left Missy's house. First I went to the hospital, and then I went over to the sheriff's station, and I filed a report. And my doctor in urgent care in Glendale said that I was very, very lucky to be alive.
Don't tell me what your doctor said.
I'm just.
But that's when you went to the doctor the next day. Ms. LaBeouf, don't you believe you have any responsibility towards his injuries?
No, because I don't feel that I started the fight.
The fight, it took place in your home. It took place in your home.
You know who started the fight? The minors that they brought to the party.
When you have a party in your home, you almost act as an insurer for the guests. You understand that?
Yes.
Well, you know, I assume that you haven't sued Miss LaBeouf for the injuries that you sustained.
Not yet, Your Honor.
Well, how do you feel about this door?
You know, as Missy said, initially I felt badly about the door. We have been friends for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as I had time to think about it, I thought, why am I fixing this door? I did what I would have done the same for you or her or anyone else. And if it had been Missy who'd been laying in the bushes and I'd kicked the front door in to call 911, there's no way she would have sued me. If I'd been at someone else's house and I had no choice to do it, and if I had it to do over again, I'd do it 100 times. I'd kick 10 doors in. That's what I had to do. Ethically and morally, if not legally, I felt I was obligated to do it. And if that's wrong, I don't want to be right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know, when someone has head trauma, you don't know how serious it is. And he was knocked completely unconscious.
And later today.
That's not my problem, that's your problem. I went to where I was supposed to go.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chris Corlett says that he had no choice but to kick Missy LaBeouf's door down at Missy's party.
This young man is going to have a coronary unless he comes up and tells me what he has to say. I see him out of the corner of my eye. I assume you have something germane to say to me, sir. Do you?
Sure.
Sure. You better be.
Well,
Your name first.
My name's Ed.
Ed what?
Witness. Ed Marchand. After Matt was assaulted, he was laying on the ground and he was attempting to get up. And Chris, being an older brother, was concerned, and rightfully so. And I was right there with him when he called 911. I was going to go and assist him to do that. I almost went to grab him, and I almost was struck in the face when he went to kick the door with the back of his foot. It was right there, and I couldn't believe it. He actually managed to kick the door down in one kick.
Did you witness this assault, sir?
I didn't actually see him getting struck in the head, but I was less than 10, 15 feet away.
But you saw him on the ground.
I saw him on the ground.
And you saw his brother upset.
Yes.
And you heard his brother, defendant, ask Miss LaBeouf to call 911.
Yes.
And she did not go.
She did not go. I offered to
She
help.
did not go.
She did not go.
He was standing with his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked the host of the party to please go and call the police because his brother had just been assaulted, correct?
Right.
The host did not call, correct?
Correct.
This case is dismissed. Thank you.
All right, sir, excuse you. May step out.
No.
I'll back door to your right, please.
He made hostile phone calls. He was rude. He was mean.
Well, I never made any phone calls. You guys called me.
Yeah. With Chris, no. I never really had any respect for him, and everybody in our town doesn't anymore because of this case.
Party's on Westlock versus Gimbalane. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Andrew Westlock put bail up for his friend DeEtte Gimberlin in St. Paul, Minnesota. Now he's suing her because she didn't show up at the court and he lost the money.
All right, you're tooling down the road in New Mexico with some friends in a car, correct?
No, Marshall, Minnesota.
Marshall, Minnesota. How did I get that wrong? Let's see your papers. Well, okay. Marshall, Minnesota. And you get pulled over for speeding. Neither one of you were driving, correct? You're passengers in the car.
Yep.
Policeman tells you all to step outside, takes identification from everybody, and you had an outstanding warrant.
Yes.
For what?
Theft by check. That's what they told me, which was the first I ever heard of it.
I doubt that.
No, seriously. If I had a warrant, then they would have came and picked me up a long time ago.
There's a warrant outstanding for your arrest.
Right.
You were a nice guy. What did you do?
Well, she got taken to jail, and then the next morning I signed for her to get out of jail on a bail bonds.
And did you have to put up any money?
It was, she had the money. She gave it to me before she went. She
Can't get two people.
She gave me the $130-some that I had to pay to get her out the next day.
Okay, so you went to the bail bondsman.
Correct.
Gave the bail bondsman $130.
Correct.
She got out of jail.
Correct.
And she was given a date to appear in court.
Correct.
Right? And what was the date you were supposed to appear on the warrant, madam?
Well, he's just telling me this morning that I had to appear in Marshall, Minnesota. But why would I appear in Marshall, Minnesota? My theft by check had nothing to do with Marshall, Minnesota. So they gave me a court date in Minnesota, which was in Minnetonka, where my court date was, and that's what I did. I went to the court date they gave me, which is right here on this piece of paper. If you'd like to show her. That was my first appearance. So I went to court like they asked me, okay?
Okay, so you're saying you went to court?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you tell me what happened to you, because you're here.
I got a nice little nifty note saying that the defendant, DeEtte, did not show up, and we were supposed to appear July 18th, 1996 in Ramsey County Court to deal with this bail issue. I don't know what about her
because
issues.
Because the bail bondsman said...
He wants his money.
He wants his money because she didn't appear where she was supposed to, even though she may have misunderstood where she was supposed to appear. Anyway, you got stuck with how much money?
$1,193.06.
Tell me how that happened. You went to court?
Yeah, and I didn't have enough money to pay the bail bondsman up front, so we decided on a little...
No, tell me what happened when you went to court. I'm really curious. You went to court and said what?
Well, all I could say is I have to pay it because she never showed up. That's all I could do.
No, just a second. Did you try to contact her when you were notified that she didn't appear on this case that she had, and you were going to be stuck for this $1,193.06?
Yeah. I asked her if she'd pay me, and she said she would, and I ain't seen a dime.
Can I say something now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, he never contacted me. His mother contacted me and called me all kinds of foul names, saying she was going to sue me and everything, so she should be here.
Miss Kimberline, you're given a court date. You think that if you don't appear on that court date, they send you a second invite? The answer to that is yes or no. They don't send you a second invite.
They didn't send me a first invite.
They don't have to send you a first
invitation. Then how do I know to go?
Because you're given the date when you are released.
Right, and it was for Ridgedale Court, not Ramsey County Court.
Good. The court made a mistake. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
The court made a mistake.
Yes.
Why should he have to deal with that?
He should be calling, like I said, why can't we call and get this cleared up? I went to court the date they gave me when I was
get it cleared up.
Listen, ma'am. Ma'am, listen. The date they gave me, if you give me back that piece of paper, I'll tell you the date that they gave me when I was released in Marshall, Minnesota. I only received one date. It's on that paper, and I went to the court.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's an innocent bystander to this whole problem. He got stuck with this bill. If it was a mistake, it's a mistake that you, not him, have to deal with. Why should he have to go back to court and spend time and effort? There was no warrant outstanding for his arrest.
Right, and I agree with that. I agree with that, but if I wouldn't have been called and call all kinds of filthy names while they're trying to make me call and find out what the problem was, I would have did it no problem. But his mother called day after day, was very rude and cursed me out, called me filthy names. No, I'm not going to do nothing for her.
Well, Miss Kimberlane, let me ask you this question. The first time his mother called you, did you say, oh, listen to me? Did you say, oh, I'm really sorry, there was really a mistake. I was supposed to be there. I will immediately, first thing tomorrow, get on the stick and go and find out what happened because you surely shouldn't be out this money? Or did you say something like this? That's not my problem, that's your problem. I went to where I was supposed to go. What did you say to his mother when she called?
I asked the lady, well, what do you mean, why didn't I go to court? I said, I did go to court. She said, well, you didn't go to court on the 18th. I said, well, I don't have a court date for the 18th. And that's as far as it got. Then she got nasty, I got nasty.
Just a second. Did you say to her, well, there must be some sort of a problem, and I will take care of it because your son certainly shouldn't be out this money. He wasn't at fault. The court may have been at fault. Maybe I was at fault. I will certainly take care of it. Did you say that?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, that's what you should have said, so I can understand it if his mother got really annoyed. Because this young man is a very mild-mannered young man. I'm surprised he's not here hooting and hollering. I mean, he went to court and he said, they said to him, you owe $1,100. And he said, okay, where do I pay? Give me a break. Give me a break. Listen to me. You get into high gear, take a couple of vitamins, get down to the court and try to work this out because it's going to cost you $1,193.06. That's what you owe him. And then you take care of your problem with the court because it's not his problem, it's yours. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,193.06. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back. This is case number 201 on the calendar in the matter of Boyer versus Mills. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Boyer, you're suing the defendant for $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you tell me why she owes you $5,000?
Well, it all started when I had a financial ad running in a newspaper.
When was this?
Back in spring of 1994. For personal loans. I'm an investor, and she answered the ad asking for a loan. And I said, well, you really didn't qualify for the loan. What's the problems? And she discussed them briefly with me. I said, well, let's get together and maybe I can help you out. Because she sounded like she had a desperate situation.
Am I correct, Mr. Boyer, that in 1994 you began to have a relationship with Miss Mills?
Yes, we did.
And she lived in your home occasionally, is that right?
Well, she moved in.
Yes. And in 1994, sir, how old were you?
Well, I was 58.
You were 58. And how old were you, Miss Mills, in 1994?
I was 18, turning 19.
You were 18. Did you feel uncomfortable about that, Mr. Boyer?
Not really.
She's 18 years old. She's a baby.
Yeah, that's right.
In any
I
event.
thought she was 19, going on 20.
Well, that makes all the
Okay.
difference in the world,
no,
sir.
I mean, no, just a matter of factual accuracy, I think. Yeah.
In any event, from a reading of your complaint over the years, you helped her financially and supported her. Is that right?
At certain points of time, yes.
Well, she lived in your house and you paid the
Well,
rent?
it was really like in 3 different stages. First of all, if you want to call this the sugar daddy stage, it was only 4 months.
Well, I'm glad you did, so I
Well,
didn't have
you know,
to.
I just put it all on the table. That was the first 4 months. I played by the sugar daddy rules. She didn't play by the princess rules. In other words, I did
Why don't you
everything I
explain that? Just a second. I'm a little stupid, so why don't you explain that to me?
Okay. I fully supported her, got a car for her use, paid her tuition in school. I was trying to get her, be a bridge for her to get from when she was, when I first met her, which was down and out big time, to getting through school, getting through her surgical technology school, being successful, and treating her like a first-class girl during that period. And I was there to carry it all the way through. I don't think she saw it the same way because she had boyfriends on her side. She was having sex with other guys. She brought home an STD for me. Thank you very much. Sexually transmitted disease. And I told her to pack up and get out. And I gave her some big money to go back to Alabama so she could get there safe and sound. None of the debts I'm asking for her to repay occurred during that period of time. They occurred much later. When she wanted to come to my house, she was begging me to come to my house. I said, okay, but not on the same terms. You work your part-time, I'll help you through school, furnish free rent and food.
During that second period of
whole
time,
different
sir,
period.
did you have sexual relations with the defendant?
Occasionally, although I backed off, and she was wondering why, because...
The word is occasionally.
Occasionally, yeah.
Okay, so she was 19, 20, and you were close to 60 at the time.
Yeah, approximately.
Okay. And is that the period of time that you're talking about, these when loans were made to her?
That's right.
What were the loans for?
She had a real bad habit on the telephone, long-distance phone calls. After I cut her off, she went to her sister, got her calling card, ran up $600 in 2 months. I talked to her sister, so I know. She comes, so now she has no way to make calls. So she makes third-party calls, and the third party doesn't know that she's making these calls, charging her number, charging to their number. I get the phone bill 3 months later for March calls. It's a June phone bill. She says, oh, I'm going to pay you. As soon as I call her, she says, oh, I'll pay you.
So
she never paid me, so that's number one.
Okay, this is very simple. She billed them to a third party. The third party ultimately said, I'm not accepting the charges. They billed them back to the phone, your phone in your house.
This is after she already moved out.
Okay. I really should be right up front with you. I find your initial position really very unsympathetic. Do you understand me?
Sure.
You know, I mean, it's a court, and we're bound by certain rules. If she owes you money, you're going to get that money. But I find a 60-year-old guy playing a sugar daddy to an 18, 19-year-old girl, it's sort of, you get what you deserve. That's the way I feel. Now, she may have been a pretty savvy 18, 19-year-old girl, but even a pretty savvy 18, 19-year-old girl is still a baby.
She's
fully
very
cooked.
street smart.
Street smart, yes, but not fully cooked, sir. And not fully cooked. So, I mean, you played sugar daddy. You played sugar daddy, and sometimes there's a meltdown, and you get your fingers burned.
If she wants to accept that role in my life, then she should do it right and not be having sex with all these different guys and having all these different guys call the house. How long am I supposed to put up with this stuff? And be right and be good
It's one
to
of the
her?
problems that you face, sir, when you're 60 and you fool around with somebody who's young enough to be your grandchild.
Okay, that second period.
All right?
Hey, I know the age.
What else?
I got that.
What else does she owe you
Doesn't
for?
mean I'm still not a man.
Come.
60 years old, I'm still a man. I'm much more capable than a lot of punks out there living with their mothers, and they're sleeping with these girls. At least I can take care of business. Tell me about it. And I can do everything they can do, and maybe better.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I knew it was going to come down to this lowest common denominator, sex with a young girl. Big deal. Man, they should have it so good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Demetria Mills says 60-year-old retired aerospace executive George Boyer knew she had another boyfriend when they made their sugar daddy arrangement.
What else?
Next one, she wrecked my Porsche, making an illegal U-turn.
I'm not considering that she's wrecking your Porsche, sir. Did she agree to pay you for it?
She agreed to pay me for it.
Did you ever agree to pay?
She told her relative she'd pay for it.
Shh. Did she ever agree with you?
Yes.
When?
After it was wrecked. She came home feeling real bad.
Let me see the loan agreement that she made with you. That,
There it is right
that
here.
I'm going to look at.
There it is right here. It's itemized on page 3.
All right.
She agreed to pay this back.
Just a minute.
And she knew she owed it to me. This is during the second period, and I was not playing sugar daddy during that period. I was just helping her out. I was just trying to be nice to her, excuse me. She had problems.
All right, let's see your end, Miss Mills.
George made a proposition to me. He knew that I was vulnerable. He took...
Don't tell me what he knew. You moved in. How long had you been living alone?
Not very long. This was my roommate before I moved in with George, and we were there just a few months.
Where do you originally come from?
I'm originally from Alabama.
So you lived with George for a while in sort of this relation. He was taking care of you and giving you money. Then you moved out. For how long?
Basically for 3 years. He took care of me even when I moved to Alabama. George was sending me money. George took me on trips. George sent me to Alabama a few different times. George bought a car.
Boyfriend's paid a trip too.
George, and that's George's problem right now, Judge Judy, is I'm not in his home. This is why he's doing this to me. Had I still been in his home, he wouldn't have a problem with me now. When I made the decision to move out of his home was because I needed to be by myself and on my own, and I didn't want to be in that situation anymore.
Well, I agree with you. You shouldn't have been in the situation in the first place.
Exactly.
Okay, and for that, he's more responsible than you are because of his age. He should be a little bit smarter. He should be 3 times as smart as you are because, because he's 3 times as old. But you do acknowledge, even in your answer, that you owe him some money.
Yes, but this is not the agreement. The agreement that I signed for that car, I signed that agreement in January of 1995. I'm sure he has a copy of it. I've seen it in his files of his records. That was for a 1989 Buick that he bought for me.
Now, did you pay him for it?
No, I did not.
So you acknowledge?
Yes, I do.
If I bought it for her, how come I'm the lien holder on it?
She's the lien holder, but I'm the registered owner,
Listen
Judge
to
Judy.
me. What are you fighting about, Mr. Boyer? She acknowledges that she owes you $3,000, which you haven't paid any part of, plus interest at 6%. Correct?
Correct.
You acknowledge this.
I gave her a good deal.
What?
I gave her a good deal, 6% interest.
You gave us some good deal, sir. Bird, do me a favor.
Your Honor,
Take the old calculator while we're finishing this case up. Would you do 6% interest on this money since '95?
This is after she cheated on me.
Excuse me, Your
I
Honor.
heard she cheated on you, sir. I heard all of that. I'm telling you, your position with me, Mr. Boyer, is not terribly sympathetic, sir. I mean, I don't know whether you find women who are contemporaries not as interesting as children, but at age 18, she's really still a child. And you may say, oh, she's sophisticated and she's worldly and she's savvy and she's street savvy.
Right.
Mr. Boyer,
Yes, ma'am.
she's a baby. 18 years old and a baby and vulnerable because she doesn't have any money and you got some money and it's very tempting. But you are not a very sympathetic person in my eyes, sir. You're going to get some of the money, but because she signed for it. Do you understand? But the rest of the stuff, I'm not so sure about.
Excuse me, Judge Judy?
What?
You know, everything besides that car that George did for me because he wanted to do it. I mean, for 3 years, I'm 23 now, just turned 23 Friday. Would somebody do that kind of stuff for 3 years if they did not want to?
Miss Mills, I haven't gotten to you yet. You are a beautiful, seemingly intelligent, young woman who should have more pride in herself, even when you were 18, to sell your body for money, which is what you did. That's what you did. That's being no different than a prostitute. You may have used the money to go to school, to go on trips and whatever, but he bought the services. That was the arrangement. He's an old lecher. No question about it. That's what he is. And I'm being kind to Mr. Boyer. You, on the other hand, sold your body for money.
It was an agreement that we had. That was the basis of our arrangement. He was to give me what I needed, and I gave him.
You sold your body for money. You are worth more than that. As a woman, smart, good-looking woman, you're worth more than that. I don't care if you have to work 2 jobs. I don't care if you collect cans. I don't care if you clean people's houses. I don't care if you drive a bus, drive a car, drive a cab. You do whatever you can so that you don't have to sell your body for money.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
You're a pathetic little girl, you're immature, and I'm sick of your crap. You owe me $1,500.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Demetria Mills says 60-year-old retired aerospace executive George Boyer knew she had another boyfriend when they made their sugar daddy arrangement.
Mr. Boyer, you are a very lucky man today, sir.
Gee.
Because despite the fact that I find that your arrangement with this young lady is the antithesis of good manners, good breeding, or anything moral, I am awarding you what she signed for in her contract, which was payment on the car, and I am awarding you $3,360. As far as her other bills are concerned, swallow them. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Sorry, that's all right.
Back to your right, please.
She's fully grown up. I don't care what her age is. She knows what she's doing, and she's cagey. Judge Judy focused on the sugar daddy stuff because I'm 60. I'm some ancient old man who doesn't have a right to be a regular human being and expect to be treated like a human being, expect people I have agreements with to keep their agreements with me.
and now the next case.
Parties on Glass versus Carr. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Tiffany Glass is suing her former roommate, 20-year-old Kelly Carr, because she says Kelly moved out of their apartment, giving only 5 days' notice and leaving behind numerous unpaid phone bills.
Miss Glass, Miss Carr was your roommate?
Yes.
Did you know her before she moved into your apartment?
No, I did not.
Did she answer an ad? Is that how she got your apartment?
No, she got it through a friend of mine.
And you have a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment?
2-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
What was her rent?
$375.
And how long were you living in bliss with the defendant?
She moved in February, and it was fine. You know, we totally got along. It was fine in March, and it kind of started to go down at the end of March. You know.
Now, had she paid you for February?
Yes.
She paid you for March?
Yes.
When did she move out?
At the end of May.
She pay you for April?
Yes.
She pay you for May?
Yes.
So why are we here?
Because she left at the very end of May, and she gave me 5 days' notice to find somebody new and decided that she didn't have to pay anything else.
Did you have a lease with her?
No.
So?
She just left.
You weren't getting along?
Correct.
Is that right?
Right.
Why weren't you getting along?
Well, I didn't really know. There wasn't enough communication between the two of us.
But you knew enough to know that you weren't getting along?
Pretty much. But there was never enough, oh, well, I'm moving out. Oh.
It's hard to live with somebody.
Yes, it is.
Well, since she paid you for the months that she was there and she moved out 5 days before the end of the month, did she owe you any money? I mean, other than the rent. I'm not considering the rent.
Before that, she didn't pay the deposit when she moved in, but I said, don't worry about that until June because, you know, at the end of June, the other roommate, blah, 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 was going to get hers, and then she could give it to me then.
Fine, so we're not talking about the deposit. But other than the rent, she's paid up?
Oh, no, there's several phone bills.
What phone bills?
Which phone bills? There was phone bills from, the statement date was on June 23rd, and then it went back into May. It went from May to June. And there was a $40 900 call that I shouldn't have paid, and there were several long-distance phone calls.
In what amount? Come, quickly.
Around $75
In long-distance calls?
in long-distance calls.
Okay. Tell me why you left.
I left because living with her was unbearable. I went through, starting back at the end of March, early April, out of the blue, I started getting notes on my bed saying, you need to stay away from my friends. When I first moved in with her, I had just moved down to California. I didn't know very many people. Tiffany was nice, and she took me out. She introduced me to people, but then she tried to take that away. She said, you stay away from my friends. My friends are my friends. Your friends are your friends. You're going to make my life miserable.
So girly things.
Girly things.
Girly things. All right. Girly things. You paid February, March, April, and May. She says that you owe her $115 for phone bills.
I owed her approximately $150 for everything. That was gas, everything. And I told her when I gave her 2 weeks' notice that I would be leaving, that I will pay that. You just send me the bills to my grandmother's house, and then I'll send you a check. But when that happened, she began leaving harassing, vulgar phone mails on my voicemail. I would get them at work. They would disturb me at work. I would have to leave work because I would be so upset. I got harassing I have copies of the messages on papers. I have letters that she sent me threatening me.
That you owe her money?
That I owe her money, and if I don't, she's telling I quote, every living soul what I have done to her. I didn't do anything to her. I was protecting myself. I left. I didn't have to give her any notice, but I gave her 2 weeks' notice, being the last week of May, and then the first week of June, and I gave her 1 week's rent.
For June?
For June. I have paper here to prove it.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Explain something to you, Ms. Carr. We don't even have to go into that. She is no longer claiming you owe her any money for rent because I'm not giving her any money for rent. I believe that you paid her all the rent that she's going to get. So you acknowledge that you owed her some money for phone bills. Is that correct?
Right, yes.
Good. Fine. Then we have no problem. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $115. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge